And that means it's bug season. Heck, who am I kidding? It's always bug season in Texas. And that's why you need Grandeur Pest Solutions in your corner. They're locally owned and operated. They're trained, they're trustworthy, and they have a proven record as they have been in business for almost 10 years. They provide pest control against ants, bed bugs, bees, roaches, fleas, wasps, mosquitoes, rodents, spiders. If it crawls and you don't like it, they're probably going to take care of it for you. Now, they serve all of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and they're locally owned. These two guys have been running this business since 2013, and every year they get bigger and bigger. But you know what they still do? They still have great customer service. In fact, if you get a hold of them, they're usually going to have your quote and your job ready to go within 48 hours. That's pretty good. Now, you can call them for a free estimate at 469-809-1769. You can find them online at Grandeur4, that's the number 4, shore.com. You can also find them on Facebook. Just type in Grandeur Pet Solutions, and we are so happy that...
Oh, no! Get out of here! You rotten bums! You overpaid weenies! Vile thing! You make my butt sting! I detest you! You're all garbage! All of you! Back up the truck! Back it up! See, I told you. Bring out the tarp. Cover the field. I can't watch this anymore. It's over. Turn the lights out. Let's get the bulldozers in here and turn this place into a parking lot.
Here we go! Buck, here we go! Here we go! Here we go! Here we go! Yeah! Here we go! Here we go! Here we go!
Happy hour. So pick up your step and smile a while.
You smile, you son of a... Hey, everybody.
With friends of ours.
I don't even have an intro, man. Just...
Well, the Cowboys lost.
Y'all have a great show. For all of y'all that had like the smallest bit of faith that for some reason you thought Cooper Rush was going to save the season, I will say this loser shot is for you. Now, we'll get into the specifics of the show here. By the way, this is OutDrank The Coverage, brought to you by Grandeur Pest Solutions and a couple of new sponsors we're going to be talking about here in a little bit. But if you don't know, we take a shot for every loss. But we also take multiple shots for multiple losses in a row. There's 4 losses in a row. We're not that stupid. I mean, we're still taking the 4 shots, but we're not taking them in a row. We're going to spread them out. So here's the first one. I'm drinking 99 proof is my punishment. This is... ooh, God, butterscotch. What are you drinking?
Well, Stro.
Oh, that's worse. All right. That's kind of butterscotchish. I didn't even think about that. So anyway.
For 1 second, it's butterscotch, yeah.
And then it's pain. Here we go. The first lost shot.
Still has that butterscotch. Oh, man, why did we do that?
Oh, it gets worse.
I'm pouring my next one.
Yeah.
All right, so this is what we're doing, right? We're going to do 2 shots now and then another 2 shots later on in the show.
Yeah, about halfway through the show. If you're a very, I say early, again, technically this show started in 2014 and went for a year, but you and I revived it in 2020 during the pandemic. And we used to do this little gimmick when we were only kind of really talking the Cowboys, and then, you know, and it's kind of funny because literally the season that Dallas is having now was the same season they were having in 2020 when we decided to go ahead and expand the show just to be kind of an all-encompassing, not only NFL, but just pro sports. But we used to, if you remember, we used to do shots per quarter. And so we would talk for about 20 minutes, and then we'd say, all right, first quarter's over. Let's take our second quarter shot. Technically, we're doing that again. We're going to do 2 in a row, and then the next 2 we'll spread out. I don't want to do 2 more in a row because we're also drinking other stuff. And I would actually like to apologize for the last happy hour ending at about an hour and a half abruptly. I had to poos. So here we go. Here's shot loss number 2. I don't even know what this one is. Mm.
And I apologize to those that notice that my shots are not as much as his. This is 160 proof Austrian rum. So, and I want to be able to be alert and awake for this whole show. So I'm going to do little smaller pours.
No. That's dude. It's fair. The only reason mine are so big is because I get the the little 90. Get that joke. I get the little 99 proof packs. And so that's literally just a shot. So believe me, I will probably be half pouring here soon. Anyway, intern Noe, how are you doing? And what outside of that are you drinking?
Something much better, actually. I found this when I was going to a local, not distillery, but liquor store by me. It's called Illegal. It's a mezcal that I like, but this one is, in particular, is pretty interesting because it's aged in Caribbean cask.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it's 42%, and it still it has that agave smell, that plant that they use for mezcal.
I do like the smell of mezcal. I'm not the biggest mezcal fan. You and I have talked about that. You had some when you came over. I'm not saying we didn't drink it later on that, a couple weeks later when you weren't here.
This is way better than that. And
oh, nice.
This is a Reposado Illegal. They have a Hoban Illegal, which is like a little bit lower grade, and that's the one I typically get because that's just for what you're paying for. You're getting just one of the better bang for your buck mezcal. So I really like it. It's a little bit sweeter than a regular mezcal just because it was aged in Caribbean cask. So anyway, how are you doing? And what are you drinking?
I'm doing good. Been a really busy weekend. We'll talk about that here in a minute. I'm back to Beach Whiskey. We'll be talking a lot about them next week. We'll set the schedule here for a minute, what we're going to be doing next week. We're going to have a lot of cool things going on. This, if you don't know, it's called whiskey. Honestly, it is basically like rum. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, it's really, really good. It's a really good rum. They have another flavor that's cinnamon. Haven't tried that, waiting on them to send me some. So I'm hoping it gets here before next week because I'd like to try it because I have a feeling that if this is good, their cinnamon will probably taste way better than like Fireball. Not that Fireball's bad. It's just not my thing. But yeah, American Beach Whiskey, 52 proof. So this is more of it's perfect for something like this. It's perfect for when you're wanting to like drink, but you're not necessarily like going, okay, I want to get stupid drunk or I want to, be like Terry and Noe on Tuesdays the next day after all this kind of stuff. But before we get into all that, you're talking about local. We're going to talk about more here in a minute, but I want to point out one of our new sponsors, L Dog's Gourmet Hot Dog. They are in the Frisco Fresh Market, and again, we'll be talking about them here in a minute. Dude, you're a big hot dog fan as well, but that is like a staple for me. That is one of the things that like I eat at least a couple times every week. And so found these people on Facebook, reached out to them, and I'm all about, look, if I'm going to advertise you, I guess I need to go try your hot dog. I mean, I really hate to do that. And so we went there Sunday. It's at the Frisco Fresh Market. Again, we have an ad for them. I'll give you the address and all that. And that's the hot dog right there that you see on screen. That's the hot dog I had yesterday. Because my whole thing is the first one I try, I want it to be basic. I love chili and cheese, and I love Chicago dogs. I love New York dogs. I love all that. But I wanted to just try a simple, basic hot dog from them. And, dude, even if they weren't paying me, I'd be telling you right now, that thing is amazing. Just the quality, the freshness, the taste. I cannot wait to go back to try. I mean, and it's really cool because they're one of those, it's not just about the hot dog for them, but it is. As you could tell, they have so many different ones. You can get a hot dog. Of course, you can get old school like me, Texas chili cheese. You can get macaroni on it. You can get a Frito pie style one. You can get the cowboy dog. And this is so underrated, dude. They have something called boogie juice. Now, I didn't get the I didn't get all the ingredients, and I didn't get to taste it, but it's a Kool-Aid based drink, and it's a Kool-Aid that's in one of those water streamer things that's purifying. I'm talking about. You see, I'm just saying that's the only way you're supposed to drink Kool-Aid. Like, I want one of those machines at my house. But we do want to thank and welcome one of the new sponsors, L Dog's Gourmet Hot Dog, and again, we'll be talking about them more in a little bit, and also. Now, we've already talked about these guys a little bit, but I can't wait for you to be in studio next week. This is kettle corn from one of our new sponsors, Lazy Dog Kettle Corn. We'll be trying these out next week in studio as part of the live show because we're going to be there to watch the Houston Texans, Dallas Cowboys, sadomasochist football game. And you and I are going to try this. It's got kettle corn. They also got pork rinds, which I know you're excited about. and the great thing is this is really cool, dude. They actually have created for us at L4 Media different sample packs for the show. So check that out. There's an OutDrank The Coverage sample pack. Unfortunately, it isn't all pork rinds like I was trying to get him to do. He was like, nice. Like, no, I can't do that to intern. No. But we do have an L4 Media pigskin pack. That's pork rinds. We've got an OutDrank The Coverage, and we have a sideline to sideline pack. We'll be talking about them a little bit here in a little bit. But again, we want to thank both of them for being sponsors here on the show and on the network. Local sponsors, that's the way you and I like to go. Anyway.
One question.
Yes, sir.
Going back to L Dog Gourmet.
Yes, sir.
What did the owner tell you the hot dog was basically like? Like basically having like a full meal.
It's if you can get a full meal on a bun, which, dude, I love that. Here's the little bit of the info right there. We'll go ahead and pop into that as we start this because we've got 6,000 people here. We do appreciate that. We were kind of wondering, what the drop off was going to be with, everything happening with the Cowboys and the Texans, so to speak. But yeah, his big thing, and his name's Elgin Robinson, and this dude is super, super nice. And if you go to their website, it's just so awesome to see people that still are wanting to do things, not just because they're trying to make money. Yeah, we're all trying to make money, but this is an absolute love that he has of, doing hot dogs. This is something he's been wanting to do forever. So go check them out online at ldogsgourmethotdog.com. But he said it best. He said, look, they pride themselves on their hot dog experience, and for them, it's all about a complete meal in a bun. And if you know me, I'm all about that. I'm a sandwich guy. I've always been a sandwich guy. I love hot dogs. Seriously, I eat hot dogs. Like I can go a whole week and eat hot dogs every day for lunch.
Yeah, there's at least 2 times a week you send me a text message with a picture of a chili dog that you're eating just because you have a fix for it. Like you just have the craving.
Yep. And so and legitimately, when I went there, it's at the Frisco Fresh Mark, which that in and of itself is a really cool place. And the quality of service was outstanding. His daughter was there. She, an Irving Mack graduate from 2011. You, sir, are an Irving Mack Cardinal for life. And so that was kind of cool. But yeah, please check out L Dogs Gourmet Hot Dogs. We'll be talking about them the rest of the football season. And also Kettle Corn. We'll be talking about them here in a little bit more in a little bit. But okay.
Let's rip the Band-Aid off.
It's not even a Band-Aid at this point. This really is like 2020. And it's really weird how it's almost mirrored it, except for the only difference was in 2020, the offense was really, really good until Dak got hurt. But the idea is in 5 years, people are going to think, oh man, yeah, that 24 season, if Dak wouldn't have got hurt, and they're going to forget that, no, Dallas wasn't going anywhere anyway. But that loss at least showed that Cooper Rush isn't the answer. For people that want to point that, oh, Dak, he's the highest paid quarterback. He needs to play like. Look, this isn't about Dak. This is a bad team. This might be the worst roster that they have had. I don't know, man. We're talking maybe since the 5 and 11 years.
This was a historically bad game, but this has been a pretty bad season. It is a poorly constructed team. We knew it going in. That Cleveland game to start the season was kind of smoke and mirrors. It gave us false hope that this team might just pick up where they did the prior 3 seasons. It wasn't the case. They're too banged up. Their offensive line is not what we were thinking it was going to be. Zach Martin's on his last legs. He's had a lot of injuries carrying that line for 11 seasons. Guyton's not there yet at left tackle, but I think he still has some promise for the future. Cooper Beebe's been okay. I wouldn't say great, but he's a rookie. He's learning a new position. He was a guard at college at Kansas State. He's playing center this year. So I would say with the line, just keep adding talent. You're going to have to replace Martin pretty soon at right guard. Defense, they're just top to bottom, all three phases: line, linebacking, secondary, all bad.
Well, I will say this, and this is one thing that they did bring up on the broadcast. One of the things that has been still a positive for the Cowboys is their pass rush win rate, and we saw that in the first half. The Cowboys had 5 sacks. And 4 of those came when the game was still in play. But like they pointed out on the broadcast, I think Romo said it best, is the problem is Dallas hasn't forced teams to get into that we have to only pass situation. And again, that goes back to what we talked about with Dan Quinn and stuff last year. And we'll talk about what they're doing in Washington, because I think you're seeing some of the mirror things in Washington, some of the problems that Dallas has defensively last year. But we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, look, I'm going to say it again. Dallas, we know I think they're going to make coaching change. I do know this. Mike Zimmer's not back next year. If Mike McCarthy survives another year, okay, he might. And I actually think that that's a growing possibility, just with the things that Jerry is saying. But it's going to be with wholesale changes at defensive coordinator, probably on the offensive side as well, but especially on the defensive side. Dallas has to go to a 3-4. You've got 2 outside linebackers that showed yesterday that if you build the pass rush around them on the edge and you go 3-4, you could immediately be right back to where you were last year as far as defensive aggressiveness and things like that.
For one half, this was actually a pretty competitive game. And like you're saying, Overshown and Micah Parsons looked pretty good in this game.
Oh, Micah looked great. It was nice to have him back.
The problem is, the offense only got 145 yards combined. Cooper Rush threw for under 100 yards. It was pretty bad there. So at some point, a defense just are going to get worn down, and that's exactly what happened in the second half. Philadelphia shut out the Cowboys on defense in the second half, and they just kept grinding it out on offense. They just found their rhythm, and the Cowboys the Cowboys made it easy for them. All the turnovers, especially the Zeke fumble in the red zone. Cooper Rush had a couple fumbles. It was just a bad overall game. You can't – this was actually a pretty good defensive game, believe it or not. It's just if you're on the field for too long, it's just that's just what's going to happen. It just reminds me of what happened with the 49ers in the 2022 NFC title game against the Eagles.
Yeah.
Their defense actually played good, but because they had no quarterback, they just got worn down in the second half. So
let's talk about one of the things that's the big hot button issue after the game. There's 2 of them. We'll talk about the Parsons one. The Sun. CeeDee Lamb was trying to catch a pass. The Sun blocked it out. And at that moment, if Dallas scores, it's still a game. In fact, they would have taken the lead. It's still a game, and you can make the case. And I get everybody bitching about the curtain, and I'm not in any way saying that the sun should be bleeding through like it is. It's a stupid design, but the stadium has been open since 2009, folks. You can count on one hand the times this has really been an issue. I know there was one time last year that it was talked about, and it's been talked about before, but it's kind of like the punting and the scoreboard. Remember, that was such a big thing in 2009. Oh, my God, every other punt's going to probably hit the scoreboard. The NFL is going to have to step in and do something, and now nobody talks about it. I'm not saying that the Sun isn't an issue. It is. I'm not saying that they don't need to block it with a curtain. They do. But let's quit pretending now like all of a sudden like this has been some issue that has affected scores and scores of games, and that they're, oh my God, if in 2014 they would have just had that, they'd have won a Super Bowl. It sucks, but I think people just latch on to things. Now, in saying that, Jerry Jones is arrogant, like, if you want us to do that, we've got to tear the stadium down. That's stupid too. But I think people are vastly overrating how big of an issue that was.
It wasn't a big issue, but what made it an issue was Jerry Jones' reaction.
Yeah.
This whole weekend. I mean, just after that game, just with the Sun comments, uh, it just showed that he's frustrated too. But I mean, this is
Is he?
well. I mean, they're still making money. People still come to the games now. I did see a mass exodus later in this game, but that's typical when the home team's getting blown out. Uh, when you heard his pocketbook, then he will listen. Right now, the Cowboys are still the most valuable team in the world.
Okay, so that's become a big thing now. One of the things people are trying to tell people, well, boycott the game, boycott it, and all that. I'm not boycotting. This is entertainment, folks. Like, I love football. Yeah, I want Dallas to be good, but I love football. I'm not going to stop watching. Well, I mean, I have technically stopped watching Dallas because they're on. Like, I watch Red Zone, and I put them on the laptop. But this whole idea that, if you just stop watching. Look, first off, this is the NFL. He's still making money. If 50,000 people went to the game only, he's still making money because the dirty little secret about the NFL is, and it's not even a secret, is the TV contract is so big. The game stuff is just secondary. His bottom line is not getting hurt if you don't go because if you don't go to the game, guess what happens? Fans from the opposing team go to the game because that's how that works. So people need to stop with that. I told you this earlier. I'm just perplexed. Like I'm legitimately perplexed by what just Jerry in the last 325 days. I'm just perplexed at how this team was built. Their thought process on, and yes, the all in. Okay. Another thing, I'm tired of hearing that. Yes, he said it. He didn't do all in. The joke's been played out, folks. But it is true. I am just so confused by this team.
I mean, which part? Just how they're constructed? Jerry Jones post game comments.
Yes. Well, the post game comments don't surprise me. Look, dude, and he's admitted this. He's an internal optimist. He's the guy that, wakes up and goes, okay, we're 3-6 now, but you know what? If we win our next 5, we're right back in it. We're at 8-6 and we're, and so he's the eternal optimist. I get that. I'm an internal optimist. I'm that type dude. I wake up, I'm going to win the day, even if I'm already losing the day 42-0. It's the construction of the roster. It's not even the moves they made because they didn't make moves. You didn't bring in, that's fine. You didn't want to sign Derrick Henry. Perfectly fine. Valid. We can all look at it now and go, oh, man, that was a mistake. Let's also understand that as great as Derrick Henry is, Derrick Henry last year with a terrible quarterback and an offense that didn't work, struggled for a lot of the year. He had a few big games that made his stat total look a lot better. He's got Lamar Jackson right now at quarterback. That right there in of itself opens the game up for him. And I'm not saying that if Derrick Henry had come to Dallas, he wouldn't be successful. But no, I don't think he'd be second in the league in rushing yards if he was in Dallas this year, even if Dak was still healthy. But it's the fact that they didn't bring anybody in until Dalvin Cook, and that felt like we need a body. And heck, we hadn't even really seen Dalvin Cook all year either.
Yeah, I don't know what the thought process was there when I remember they got Royce Freeman. I was really indifferent. I guess initially going back to training camp, I initially thought they just had so much faith in Rico Dowdle to carry the load that they were just getting backups to complement Dowdle. That's why they got Royce Freeman, who they later cut. That's why they got Zeke, he's dropped off since 2022 big time. I'm really shocked at that. I mean, he did lose a little bit of weight to get a little bit of quickness this year, but it's just not working.
I mean, you're shocked. Why? Last year he was terrible. I mean, you can even make the case that in 2022 he wasn't really.
Anything. But he got like 800 yards, double-digit touchdowns. I still thought he could have been that guy for the next 2 to 3 years. A guy that doesn't have to be the starter, but he can come in, get the short yardage, get the touchdowns, get the critical yardage when needed. And then break off a couple. So I still thought he could be that guy. He's not even 30 yet. But, I mean, after he left Dallas, went to the Patriots, I just gave him the pass for last year just because he played for a bad Patriots team. But yeah, it looks like that's just it for him. I was hoping he would get to 10,000 yards with the Cowboys, but I don't see him making it. This might be his last season in the NFL.
I'm actually. I was waiting for him to be cut today, not only because of the fumble yesterday, but because of being suspended for a game. And there's been multiple reports that, like, for whatever reason, he's just not engaged into the season this year. He's been distracted. And look, by the way, Dwaddle has shown when they, like yesterday at times, he ran the ball well. At one point, he had like 10 carries for 48 yards or something, and he was running the ball well. And it was like, well, where was that when Dak was quarterback? Like, why did I get it that you've got Dak and you've got this big quarterback salary now, and he's a runner-up MVP. But if you're going to run the ball, run the ball. And they were doing that yesterday in the first half and moving the ball well at times. But you saw again, look, Cooper Rush in 2022, that was fun. That was a great little, 6-game clip, especially when Dallas had lost the first game and then Dak is out and you're thinking just like you were this year, oh crap, this season's gone. And then Cooper carried the water enough. He didn't play great, folks. That was the thing nobody wanted to admit.
He benefited. I mean, this was a much better team in 2022. Yeah. They had a better line. They had more talent at running back and receiver. The defense really stepped up when he was playing quarterback. They were really creating chaos to the opposing team. So this year, I still think Cooper Rush is a solid backup.
Oh, yeah.
But he doesn't have the line. He doesn't have the running game. He doesn't have the wide receiver depth. The defense is not as good as it was 2 years ago. It's just a different team.
And to be fair, that the game plan was completely different. Like I really, really thought that, I don't mean that they were going to come out and throw it 40 times, but I really, really thought they were going to be like, okay, we're going to flip things up on them and we're going to throw the ball down the field. We're going to do, and that's what worked when he was in there last time. They ran the ball, and then he would pop them over the top, and they ran the ball. And again, you're right. You still had Elliott, who was decent, and you had Pollard, who was starting to show what he was. Man, you want to go miss a guy? Go watch Tennessee. And again, Pollard, with a terrible quarterback, with a terrible offense, is still making hay. That's the bit. To me, you can talk about Derrick Henry, that's fine, but not trying to re-sign Pollard, especially because he came off of an injury, so his value wasn't super high. And unless his agent and him just were like, screw it, we still want starting running back money, that seems like to me that was the most logical thing. Re-sign him. He's another year away. Again, he broke his leg at the end of the season the year before. The idea that he was going to be 100% immediately, I don't know. Again, it just goes back to just the building of this team and how it's built just doesn't make any sense.
There's no depth. They paid their stars. It's an issue I had. I think I brought this up on the show a few weeks ago. They were so focused on paying the stars that they didn't really focus on trying to build a whole team.
Okay, but you say that, but what stars? I mean, yeah, they re-signed Dak and they re-signed Lamb. Okay, yes, their money is a big chunk, but this idea like that, their money's 90%, that's not true. Like, that's just not, that is demonstrably false. Again, that's people buying Jerry Jones saying that, we couldn't afford Derrick Henry because, we had to. No, and first off, the actual immediate signing of Dak actually gave him cap relief compared to where his cap hit was going to be this year. Now, you are right in, and again, this makes no sense. Why did they wait so long to sign him?
Yeah.
Now, that part makes sense. Like, well, not Lamb. I mean, Lamb, Lamb held out. That's a little different. But Dak, why did you wait so? You knew what the money was. Like, you knew what he wanted. Just sign it to him. Either sign him or move off. And that goes back to the Trey Lance situation. So, okay, you trade for Trey Lance. For what? What was the play there? Like, you're going to have to you're either going to have to sign him or you're going to have to cut him or let him go at the end of the year because he's a free agent. So, like, people are saying, well, play Lance and see what he has. Why? Like, what does that accomplish? Because if he plays great, you can't sign him as a backup. He's going to move on because,
Dude, I thought that's what was going to happen. They were going to play him for the rest of the year. And then you reminded me he's going to be a free agent after this season. And I was like, oh, no. And then you said the comment, they couldn't even do that right. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter if they play Trey Lance unless they want to do a sign and trade, because that ain't going to happen either. He'll just take the money.
Well, yeah, you can't. I mean, you can't now. Well, and then the NFL doesn't really have a true sign and trade like the NBA does anyway.
Yeah.
Well, once he becomes a free agent, he's a free agent. And what Noah's talking about, if you don't know, in basketball, you can be a free agent, but you can re-sign with your team, and then they trade you. That's part of the agreement. The NFL doesn't really have that. I don't know, man. I keep saying something is going to come out different, or at the end of the year or through the off season. Either Jerry is just got to the point where he's just too old, or there's something health wrong. Maybe his focus just doesn't feel like it's on football. Even in the press conferences, yeah, he gets mad when people, address him directly about stuff, but like he doesn't even look that disappointed. Like, for years, you and I used to always joke about it, man. They'd lose a tough game, and you'd see him, and he'd be Johnny Walker soaked. He'd have the bleary red shot eyes. You could tell he was a little drunk. He doesn't even look like that. Like, he just looks like, yeah, we lost. Oh, well. And so I don't know. There's something weird going on. I don't know if we'll ever find out, but if we do, I think it'll be in the offseason. But I think there's definitely something weird going on.
I mean, it could be. He's 82 years old. He's kind of aged pretty bad the last 5 years. I don't know what it is, but it's. I just know something has to change, and I'm really hoping. You could do finger pointing. It starts with Jones, but then the way this roster was constructed, and then hiring Zimmer, but not really setting that defense up to fit Zimmer's philosophy and defensive scheme. Going young on offensive line, and then they're just not there yet.
Okay, stop right there. Let's start with that, the offensive line. I will say this. That is the least egregious, because let's look at Tyron Smith and the Jets, who they're literally about to bench him, okay?
Him and our Zach Martin are not looking good this year.
Yeah, but Zach is looking not as good, but still good. Like Tyron Smith is getting beat every snap. Zach's nowhere near that. Zach's just not quite as dominant as he used to be.
That Tyron Smith, I don't know who that guy is, but he is not looking good with the Jets. He looks slow, and this is a guy that's 6'3", 305 pounds. He has basically like a six-pack. He plays left tackle. Like, his athleticism and his strength were his strengths. Like, that was what carried it. When he was out of the lineup, the Cowboys looked so bad on offense. That's how good he was.
Yes.
But now I don't know this guy. I mean, he got about $20 million to play 1 year with the Jets, so good for him.
Well, I think a lot of that's just the Jets. We'll talk about it. But I think he got old overnight. And maybe also, maybe this is a situation you can say this is good or bad. Maybe he's playing through a lot of stuff that in Dallas he wouldn't have had to play through. Maybe in Dallas they'd have been like, hey, just sit down. And I still think the offensive line, for the most part, outside of right tackle, look, and to be fair, this is where, and as a GM, you get knocked no matter what. But for everybody talking about you waited too long to sign Dak, well, with Steele, they signed him a year too early, but it made sense at the time. Sign him early. He was really good his first 2 years. He stepped in that second year, played really well. And then you go, okay, let's go ahead and lock him up now. And then he tears his knee up. You can't help that. And you can tell he's just not the same. But I still think Guyton's going to be fine at left tackle. I could see a path where you move him to the right tackle. I still don't understand why you don't go, okay, we'll move you to right tackle. Tyler Smith will kick you out left, and we'll replace our two guards. Because I don't think Zach Martin makes it past this year. We'll replace our two guards, and that's tough. But in today's NFL, if you got to replace two offensive linemen, I'd rather replace two guards than two tackles. But yeah, I think of all the situations, the offensive line is one of those that will fix itself.
Yeah, and I think they'll have a bounce back next season. I like Cooper Beebe. I like Tyler Guyton. I'm not sure they'll play the same position in the next few years, but I like those two guys as centerpieces for this youth movement we're trying to do with the offensive line.
Oh yeah, you brought up a good point though, because like Cooper Beebe could actually kick the guard, and you bring back Brock Hoffman off the bench, who was supposed to be the starting. So I think the offensive line can fix itself out. The defense is going to have to be completely revamped.
I'd love to see if Marshawn Nealon comes back next year healthy, and
Yeah.
Dominic. We saw a little bit of him; it was pretty impressive. So there's hope there. With you and I both like Overshown. Obviously, we like Parsons. I'm not sure they're going to pay him or what.
Oh yeah, they're going to pay him. You have to look, folks. I know he can be a little bit of an issue with things he said, and we'll talk about the Mike McCarthy thing here in a little bit. But you know what? When you look at the greats, that's just how it is, man. If you think Parsons is bad now, try to be Bill Parcells with Lawrence Taylor in the '80s. Or try to be Bill Walsh with Charles Haley in the late '80s before. And even with Dallas, people forget even with Dallas, there was some issues with Charles Haley. They did a better job of handling it. And so some of the things that he has, his issues were, to me, are very, very small. To me, you build the defense around them two, Diggs and Duran. Look, Donovan Lewis.
Who hasn't played this year?
Yeah,
Duran
Duran. You know, we keep hearing he's supposed to be back, and he hasn't been. The safeties have been absolutely terrible. Look, hey, give Dan Quinn credit, I guess, or whatever they did the last couple of years, because Donovan Wilson at one point was like under key, almost an all-pro, and now, I mean, he just looks like trash. I legitimately think if they completely shred it, look, Kendricks has been a terrible addition. Him and Barkley in space, and look, I know Saquon Barkley is special, but even Tony Romo pointed it out. That was linebacker 101. You're in space with a guy like Barkley. You don't sit back, you attack. If he makes you miss, he makes you miss. But if you sit back, he's going to make you miss. It wouldn't shock me if you look at next year and Dallas has, maybe 9 new defensive starters.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it's with Mike Zimmer. He might not be there.
Oh, no way he's back.
Well, I mean, this is a decision. Like, if they want to keep Zimmer, have him tell you who he really wants.
See, you keep acting like it's a personnel issue, which, I mean, I'm not saying it isn't, but no, Mike Zimmer's been terrible this year. Mike Zimmer looks like he's still coaching in 2014. Like, he's running the same concepts. He used to be known as the blitz guy. Blitz, 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 blitz. And you saw it in the first half. But the problem is when teams adjust to it, he has no answer to it. And as much as you can say, well, hey, look, a lot of the issue with the defense yesterday was they were on the field a lot. That's true. And the offense wasn't doing anything. That's true. It also felt like the sacks bailed them out of probably giving up some big plays.
What I'm saying is, I'm not disagreeing, but what I'm saying is, if they're you have 2 options: keep him or don't. If you keep him, make sure you get the personnel that would fit his defensive philosophy.
That's fair.
And if you don't, then like you said, I do agree with you on that. Get a 3-4 person, but you're going to need a defensive nose tackle that can fit that 3-4 scheme. And I don't think there's anyone on the Cowboys roster that fits the stereotypical nose, like your Casey Hamptons of years past.
Well, no, and that's why I said you've got to, no matter what you do, like I say, whether you keep Zimmer, you stay 4-3, you go 3-4, you get a new Al Harris, whatever. To me, you're going to have 8 to 9 new starters on that defense next year.
And you have to determine what your philosophy is. If you're going to build it around Overshown and Parsons, aggressiveness, speed. Overshown has speed for days. So does Parsons. Emphasize that and build that team. I mean, I agree with you. It'll probably be a whole overhaul on defense. You keep Diggs, you keep Parsons, you keep Overshown.
You keep
Lawrence. Yeah, you keep Bland. Lawrence, if he's still going to play, I'm not sure. He's on the other side of 30, so you just
I love him, but it's time. He's under contract next. I mean, he's not under contract next year. It's time to, if he wants to go play somewhere else, go play somewhere else. I think you just said it best without even realizing. They don't have a philosophy in any way this year. Like, in any way. Like, they have no identity. What is the Cowboys' identity this year?
Great special teams.
And even then, yesterday, they gave him a big punt return that was in the moment when the game was still in play. So even that shows that, hey, you can't. Nobody can be perfect. You can't swing 100%. And I really, really doubt Fossil's back next year.
I would be very sad if he wasn't back.
I mean, I will be too. But Dallas picks. We all do this. Like we get coordinators we like, and we're like, man, if we lose them, what will they do? There are other great special teams coordinators. I mean, you can find other ones. I mean, I hope he's back, but I'm just saying, I'm leaning more. The two things that's either going to happen is a complete overhaul, you clean out everything, or you keep Mike McCarthy and you clean out everything under him. Now, if that happens, he'll keep Fossil if Fossil wants to stay.
Man, I mean, I'm just saying, like, you got Brian Anger at punter, you got Brandon Aubrey at kicker, Turpin returning, and then John Fossil, the special teams coach for the Cowboys, I think he's done a great job.
Oh yeah, he's the best special teams coach in the league, I think.
It's just sad that it's just a great season is just being wasted by everything else going wrong.
Man, that's how And you said it best, and I read something else talking about it too. Like you can't even see. I mean, okay, they'll probably beat the Giants on Thanksgiving. That's not a given, though. Well, understand that. That's not a given.
We'll talk about their debacle in Munich over the weekend.
Oh God, that was terrible. But I mean, that's not a guarantee though that you beat them just because you don't have an offense right now that you can get you more than 14 points. I don't even know if they can get them 14 points. But in theory, I see them beating the Giants and the Panthers. That's it. That's it, folks.
5-12.
Which is actually probably apropos because the way the league is going this year, 5-12 will probably only get them like a 11th or 12th or 13th pick. I mean, seriously, look at the records.
There's a lot of top-heavy teams in this league. And
that means there's a lot of crappy teams at the bottom.
Yeah. I was looking at the standings earlier before the show started, and I was like, man, that AFC, it's fool's gold. There's 5 really good teams in the AFC, and then everybody else is mid to like number 2 or number 1 overall pick. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's extremely bad. And so, that's just.
And there's teams right now that have 4 or 5 wins. They're really bad teams, like the Bears. Talent's there, but I just don't know. We can. I don't know if you want to pivot over.
Is it there?
Yeah, I think it's there. I think they have a good mix of veterans and youth. Okay, so yesterday they lost to the Patriots 19-3 at home. First loss of the season. I think they had won 8 straight games at Soldier Field dating back to last year. The offense was putrid. I'm going to attribute some of it to them missing 4 offensive linemen. Caleb Williams got sacked 9 times. But again, another part of it is the play calling of Shane Waldron, their offensive coordinator, which Matt Eberflus, if you talk to Bears fans, they call him Fireflus.
I bet they miss Charles Nagy right now.
Yeah. I mean Matt Nagy.
Matt Nagy. Oh,
Charles Nagy, wasn't he a Indians pitcher?
Yeah. He was a junk baller.
Oh, man. Well, because that reminds me of the intro that you've added from Major League.
Oh, get out of here. You rotten bubs. You overpaid Winnie.
It's funny because there's not many big names with the last name of Nagy. So it's just – anyway, yeah. So –
Wait, what? Yeah, again, I'm going to say this. I like Caleb Williams. I think Caleb Williams is going to be a good to great quarterback. But I will go back again and go, why didn't you just keep building with what you had last year? Because Justin Fields was starting to show that he was at least becoming a guy that you could go, okay, we can build around him.
And you saw glimpses with Pittsburgh this season. He started the first 6 games for the Steelers, and he looked pretty efficient. Now he's lacking that risk-taking ability right now, but I mean that can be learned over time.
Well, when you're basically told, it's the thing that happened with Dak in 2017 and 2018 there for a while, is that they had spent his rookie year hammering in don't make mistakes, that Dak for about a year and a half was really, really tepid about throwing the ball down the field. That was a valid, issue with him. He got through it. I don't know if Justin Fields ever will, but I'm just saying, if you were going to do all that last year, again, that just felt like so let's bring in a new coach. If I'm a big believer, if you're going to clean house, like get rid of everybody that you need to get rid of. Don't half-ass it. Because if you half-ass it, you get exactly where they're at now, where they're okay. Like they're okay, but that's it. You don't trust them. And also you got to wonder, did that Hail Mary, did that maybe break them a little bit?
I mean, that was pretty deflating because the next week at Arizona, they looked terrible. And then against a not really good Patriot team at home, I would have put money on that. I don't know if you lost money.
No, I did not bet the Bears in that one. I think the Patriots are with Drake May now are way closer to being a good team. Not good team, but they're way better than I think people realize now.
Honestly, they fixed their offensive line, and if Jalen Polk, their rookie receiver from Washington, develops in year 2, that's the team that can win 10 games. They already have the defense.
Yeah,
they just need some offensive line help. Well, a lot of offensive line help, and they need a receiver. And I think Polk can be that guy. I've only seen glimpses of it, but
they need a little bit more. They need more athleticism in the offensive side. Like I love Ramondre Stevenson, but he is very much a plotter. Like he's a good lead back, but they need a true changeup back behind him. They need a real tight end. But I just think that I think for the most part, their coaches have made solid decisions each game. There's not been any, oh my God, how did they make that? They look sound. They're not great, but they look sound. But yeah, anyway, with the Bears, I mean, it just shows you that, everybody thought, oh, we're bringing in Caleb Williams, that's going to change things. Obviously, DJ Moore doesn't want to be there anymore with what happened last week. We didn't even talk about that because we weren't here on the show last week, but he basically just in the middle of the play walks off the field and goes and sits down. Even if he was injured, you just can't do it the way he did it. And it was obvious it wasn't just an injury. And he's made comments. I mean, he's just not happy. And I get it. Caleb Williams and him just haven't been able to connect. But let's go ahead and move over to Sunday night because as bad as Dallas's loss was, Houston is learning there is what you did last year only created more expectations. And as of right now, Houston is not meeting those expectations. And I know there's been injuries especially at the wide receiver core. But I'm not saying CJ Stroud has taken a step back, but CJ Stroud does not look like the dynamic quarterback that he was looking like last year.
To his credit, he shouldered all the blame for last night. But man, when your team gets 5 interceptions off Jared Goff, a really good quarterback, borderline MVP candidate in the last couple of years, and you don't win, and you were up 23-7 at one point in this game, and full control, there's more issues. I mean, they lost to the Jets last week on Thursday night. That was pretty bad, considering what the Jets have done the last 6-7 weeks.
Yeah.
Not having Nico Collins, not having Diggs. I mean, they got all these guys in the offseason to help build a team around them, and then some of these guys just getting hurt. No, the one saving grace is John Mechie, a guy that I've followed since he was in Alabama, actually had a pretty good game. They're actually using him. But, yeah, that offense, if Mixon's not going, that offense is kind of pathetic.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. And
it's shocking for me to say this, considering the talent on that team.
Well, I mean, it goes to show you, we've talked about this before, how, again, I know Houston Texans fans don't want to hear it, but CJ Stroud's first year, mirrored Dak Prescott's first year, where he set the league on fire, and oh my God, he's going to be the guy for a few years. And then, as we just said earlier, Dak then went a couple of years where he was still solid, and CJ Stroud is still solid this year, but he wasn't able to match that because guess what? Injuries is part of it, but also you had a whole off season where teams watch film of you. People don't understand. That's what coaches do in the off season. The Indianapolis Colts spent months watching every team in their division, just watching every game. Okay, God damn it.
We're at the hour mark of the show, so I think it'd be a good time to
third shot of 4. If you don't know, if you just tuned in, we do a shot per loss for the Cowboys, and when they lose multiple times, we do multiple shots. This one is, where did that bottle go? I think this is black cherry.
I like black cherry.
Oh, I do too. Shot.
All right. We should end the show with the final shot because I'm going to need a break from Stro. Oh, that's so terrible.
Oh, my God. You didn't even see what I just did.
No, I did not. What'd you do?
I chased 99 proof by grabbing the beach whiskey instead of the Gatorade. So I chased with a chase, which thankfully it was beach whiskey and it's not vodka because that would have been terrible. But yeah, I mean, Houston fans are learning. Well, and also I think I think we can admit that part of why they have looked so good at times is they're in a division that, I mean, the division truly is terrible. Last year, it played above its grade for a lot of the year. The Colts were very competitive, and they're still competitive. By the way, the Colts, hey, Anthony, a couple weeks ago, we're so sorry. Look, folks.
The Colts are 1-3 with Flacco at quarterback, but I think
they lost because of him yesterday. They played a really good game against the Bills outside of Joe Flacco.
Yeah, Flacco, I think, turned the ball over 4 times.
3 interceptions. And I'm talking about, dude, that was New York Jet, Denver Bronco, Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen with a 39-year-old quarterback, folks.
Well, he was a comeback player of the year last year with the Browns, and he had a good run with Cleveland last year. But I think head coach Shane Steichen should probably go back to Anthony Richardson. Just let him finish out the season, see what he can do, and just tell him to, not get tired and take yourself out of the game, and then not make mistakes. And let's just this Colt team is a 10-win team. They shouldn't be 4-6. Luckily for them, the Broncos are sitting at the 7th spot right now in the AFC at 5-5. So they're not far off from there. They're not far off from a playoff spot, and they're only 2 games back from Houston for the division lead. So,
but the Broncos look like a real team.
I am very impressed with the Broncos. I feel very sorry they lost that game, but this goes back to what I was saying with they're just the Chiefs. They're a complete team.
Yeah,
all 3 phases. They're a team that paid their stars, the Kelseys, the Chris Jones, the defensive tackle, Patrick Mahomes, who did take sort of a pay cut for his star status. He should be the highest paid player in the league, but he did take sort of a pay cut.
$40 million, I think, is what he's getting paid, that's a lot. I mean, $20 million. And look, we had our discussion about Dak, and you and I both understand that by the time next year, I don't know who all's due, but by the time next year, Dak's probably going to be the 4th or 5th highest paid quarterback. But my issue was, and I'm 100% pro, get what you can, get paid what you can. I'm 100% pro that. But at some point, you got to look in the mirror and go, okay, I've already got $100 million contract once. Did I have to be the highest paid? Like, what does that give you? Like, you don't get a banner hung in AT&T Stadium.
Honestly, it depends on your motives. Do you want to win Super Bowls or do you want to get paid? I'm not going to knock you for either. You and me personally, we probably would want to just win the Super Bowls. That's why Mahomes did what he did. That's why Brady did what he did many, many moons ago with the Patriots, because he did take.
He had a I will give. I've always said this. The one thing that people don't understand, and Brady admitted this, he was married to a supermodel at the time. Money was literally no object to him. But
But you knew he still wanted to win.
exactly, I was just about to say that didn't really matter. I think that he uses that more as a ha ha ha. That's why I did. I look. And people don't understand. This is also agents. Agents are in the ears of these guys, telling them because agents get higher, commission, but also it looks good for them if they can put on their resume that I've got Dak Prescott and I've got Jordan Love, and that's another one. Speak of, nobody's talking about Jordan Love in the season he's having, and still.
All the high-paid quarterbacks this offseason, they're all getting hurt. They're all underperforming.
Yeah. Did Jordan Love pull a Scott Mitchell and just have 5 really good games in a row and everybody think? And by the way, he's perfectly fine. He's not playing like what the value of his money is. And right. That goes back to, can anybody play, up to 60?
Trevor Lawrence is going to be probably out for the year. Tua Tagovailoa just came back from concussion. They lost Tua.
Tua plays well when he's not hurt. I will say that Tua fits that system so perfectly. I know they've lost since he's come back, and they're playing right now.
But Monday Night Football, Miami and the Rams. But these are actually 2 good losses, if you can say a loss is good. They lost to the Cardinals, who are way better than we thought they were going to be. All those draft picks, Kyler Murray being healthy, getting Marvin Harrison Jr. The Cardinals are leading the NFC West, a very competitive division, and Kyler Murray is looking almost like an MVP candidate right now.
By the way,
I've never seen him play this good. I will say that.
Well, he played pretty much like this that 10-1 year when they started 10-1.
2001 season, yeah.
2001.
2021. Sorry.
Jesus Christ, Kyler Murray's 40,000 years old. Hey, by the way, you and I are hockey fans. The Dallas Stars, they went to Finland. They lost 2 in a row. They came back. They beat the Blackhawks. Then yesterday or 2 days ago, they got thumped by the Jets.
The Winnipeg Jets, they're 14-1. This is the greatest start in NHL history. No one's really talking about it.
The Stars are up right now over the Pittsburgh Penguins in the second quarter, 6-0.
Hey,
goals in the first.
Alex Ovechkin, he's probably going to break Wayne Gretzky's goal record by the season's end. That'll be a big story.
Yeah, I love watching him. I love watching him play. There's certain things you think of certain people, with Jaromir Jagr, and even Sidney Crosby. You think of the center that's power and finesse and all that, and then with Ovechkin, it's just him in his office, slap shot center, just get it to him. It's one of those things like, how as a team do you allow that guy to get there? It's the same thing with, I've never understood how
Penguins have finally got on the board.
I'm watching. Dadgummit. This team sucks.
Dallas is only leading 6-1.
Hey, it's hockey, dude. So weird. Hockey's different now. It could be weird. By the way, we want to say hi to the 11,000 people that are checking in.
Hey.
We were worried about that with how bad Dallas was. Again, if you've been here since the 2020 year when we re-brought the show back out, we only talked really Dallas, until Dak got hurt and they went to crap and all that. But anyway, let's go. Let's see. We talked Texans. Good win for Detroit. By the way, good win for the NFC North, them and Minnesota. Their 2 quarterbacks throw a combined 8 interceptions. Wow. 8 interceptions, and both teams win. Sam Darnold, the last 2 weeks, has kind of reverted back to Sam Darnold. Though you and I had a good conversation about that yesterday when we were watching them. Look, that's just quarterback play. You're going to have bad games. Now, having back-to-back ones when you have a history of being a turnover problem is something I think Minnesota has to worry about. I do think that is something that takes, issue with them, because they're still not a lot different than they were with Kirk Cousins. They still feel like a 12-5 team that gets beat in the first round by a wild card team.
I will say, their defense still has improved. I think the best thing that happened to their defense was getting rid of Danielle Hunter, which is counterintuitive. Don't get me wrong, but they replaced Danielle Hunter, who's with the Texans now, with 3 solid pass rushers. And that goes back to the whole depth conversation that I was talking about earlier. Like, I would prefer that. I love star players, but what if they get hurt, which always happens? With the Vikings, they have like different stars now. They can just plug and play. That defense looks way better. And Brian Flores, I think Brian Flores will actually be a head coach in the future again. He was Miami coach for a little bit there and got fired.
I think it's going to take a lot. I mean, we can make the comments about what he's doing. We can make the comments about the race, but I still think how he treated Tua is a big, dark. I don't mean that racial. Dark on him. I think
a big dark business. No, you know what? And I think he understands that. And I think he addressed it a little bit.
Yeah, he did. And he said a lot of the good things. Like you said, he basically said, hey, I've got to figure that out. I've got to understand, I come from a defensive side, I've got to work on my interpersonal relationships when it comes to positions that maybe I don't understand as much. I'm just worried he's falling into that Rex Ryan, Buddy Ryan. I hate that. I hate defensive coordinators that hate offense to the point where they will purposely sabotage their own offense. Like, it just makes no sense to me.
Yeah, it's just that ego needs to be stroked. It's misplaced in a lot of respects. So going back to Minnesota, they win ugly, but that doesn't matter. Hey, they're 7-2. Jacksonville doesn't look great. Trevor Lawrence probably be out for the year. Mac Jones's team for the rest of the season. I still don't know how Doug Peterson still has a job with the Jaguars. They might just let him write it out.
I'm not a big look. Unless something happens that, like you just have to fire a coach, like I know he's not coaching now, but like Jack Del Rio had a DWI. Unless something like that happens, there is no point in changing out a coach when you're 2-7. Unless you have somebody on staff that you think might be the next head coach, so you kind of want to see what they do. You just let the dude ride it out and go.
Which I think, going back to the Cowboys, I think that's what Jerry Jones is doing. Mac McCarthy. I don't think he'll ever. And you brought this up a while back. I don't think he'll ever fire another coach again mid-season.
I mean, he's admitted that he doesn't. He wishes he wouldn't, or not. He doesn't. I don't think he feels like that they would have necessarily done any better. But he regrets firing Wade Phillips when they were 1-7. Even though that was a very, it made sense. But he regrets it. By the way, this segment is brought to you by Lazy Dog Kettle Corn. This is what happens when you have losses like the Cowboys and you have to do all these shots. I need the snack to finish out the show. Holy crap, we've got 14,000 people.
14,000, nice.
This is, I'm trying Lazy Dog Kettle Corn's traditional flavor. They also have, go ahead.
I was saying, so next Monday, as a reminder, I will be in studio. And you and I will be doing a live watch of the Monday night game between Houston and Dallas. And we will be doing a special show at some point, too, about Thanksgiving.
Oh, we are excited about that. So we're doing our very first full in-season, a look back.
Oh, how was the traditional kettle corn?
Oh, it's amazing. I'm a huge popcorn guy. I like kettle corn more than I do popcorn. Mm-hmm. I'm a snacker by trade, and I love kettle corn. I love pork rinds too. I love pork rinds. Some people like pork rinds with hot sauce. Some people like pork rinds, dry. I like pork rinds with spicy brown mustard. Their pork rinds are really good. Next week when you're here, we're going to be trying the dill pickle.
I like dill pickle.
Kettle corn. I do too. I'm curious to see what it tastes like in the kettle corn. But as you can tell on the scroll there, please check out Lazy Dog Kettle Corn, and we'll be talking about them for the rest of the season. Where were we at? Oh, yeah, we're going to be doing a look back, and it's my favorite. So My favorite time of the year is from October 1st through January 1st, the holiday season. I love Halloween. I love Christmas. I love Thanksgiving, but I especially love Thanksgiving football. Even when they're bad, I love the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. I love watching the Detroit Lions on Thanksgiving. I love the third game. I think the night game has been absolutely fun to watch. So what we're going to be doing next week, we're going to record it next Monday. That is something that, as long as we don't have to do a lot of editing, will go up almost immediately, because I want it to be there through Thanksgiving for a while. But we're basically doing a look at the Thanksgiving football and the history of it for the Cowboys, for the league, and for all that. And I'm excited about that one.
Yeah, we're gonna do a little retrospective on that, and then talk about just the history of Thanksgiving briefly. History of Thanksgiving in football, Cowboys, Lions, and then, like you said, in '06, the third game was added for the night, which I love that idea. And it doesn't have to anything to do with it being Detroit or Dallas. It could just be one team versus another. It doesn't have to be NFC, AFC. It can be a division rivalry. I know a lot of Pittsburgh-Baltimore games on Thursday night. Those were really good. We're going to talk about one from 2013 involving the recently deceased Jacoby Jones and Mike Tomlin.
Rest in peace, brother.
Yeah.
Speaking of, why don't they just do that with Thanksgiving, though? And I get it. Like, I get you want to include the AFC. You want to do you want to flip it over. So here's my, not that you need to fix Thanksgiving, but here's what I think they should do, at least for Dallas. Every other year, it should be Houston on Thanksgiving. The very fact that Dallas and Houston have only played like two, and one of the times they played them as it was Tennessee. I think that was a Thanksgiving game. Yeah, that was like 97. Wasn't that a Thanksgiving game? Yeah, I think so. But the fact that the Houston Oilers only played Dallas once on Thanksgiving, the famous, one of the best Thanksgiving games. We will be talking about it. We actually talked about it when we did the Rivals show, because it was Houston. The Houston Texans have never played the Cowboys.
It was Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I thought it was. The Houston Texans have never played the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. That makes no sense to me. Like, Dallas has played Buffalo multiple times, Miami multiple times, and those are perfectly fine. But, like, man, make Thanksgiving, because Thanksgiving used to be, and I think technically it still is, but it used to be kind of like a throwback weekend. Dallas always wears their white helmet. I think that's perfect look for Thanksgiving. So every other year, play a division rival. And then the other year, when you play an AFC team, play Houston. Just play Houston. Just make Houston be the, you have this extra game now. So the way the formula works is the NFC plays the AFC by division. You rotate. But now you have one extra, because of the 17th game, you have one extra AFC game every year, and it just kind of rotates. So just make every other year the one extra game be Houston. Make that rivalry be a thing.
And because of the 17th game, Dallas could play Houston every year if they really wanted.
They could. I kind of really wish they would do that. Just you designate one team on the other side, and you try to, and it's not going to be perfect. Not every team has a cross. I mean, it's easy when you think Giants and Jets. I
just thought about this. Why is Houston in the AFC South, but the Cowboys are in the NFC East?
Well, the reason Dallas is in the NFC East is nobody in the NFC East wanted to give that up. That was talked about when they went to the four divisions. Like, there was legitimate talk about, okay, do we want to move Dallas into the South? And you go like Dallas, New Orleans, Atlanta, and all that. But do you want to give up Washington, New York, or Philadelphia as a rival? Because I don't.
No.
I would rather Dallas stay in the East. It's not a big deal. But that's why. But yeah, just at least every other year, make Dallas and Houston be a true rival.
I would like that. I mean, if you go to social media, if you talk to Houston fans, I mean, there is some hate between Dallas and Houston. I don't know where that came from, but it's in-state rivalry. It's extended beyond football into baseball. Like last year, the ALCS was Texas and Houston, and that was a great 7-game series. Dolphins are up 7-0.
Yeah.
Good for them.
I
You
forgot
know,
to see who scored.
all right, who is it? Oh, Malik Washington. Okay. Oh, it's 18-yard rush. Okay. So yeah, Malik Washington, 18-yard rush, 7-0. Then, the Rams, they're doing what they did last year. They started slow. They had a hot finish. They started 1-4. They won 3 in a row. They're hosting this game. You think this is another Ram win, but Miami's off to a good start. So let's see how LA Rams respond.
Well, and the Rams were my big team to watch out for at the beginning of the year. But again, they have been hit with they were hit with injuries and still hit with injuries, and that's been their biggest issue. But they've won 3 in a row. They're kind of one of those, man. When they win, they win. Like when they beat the Niners or when they beat the Vikings. But man, when they lose, they lose. Like when the Cardinals beat them 41-10 a couple weeks, or not a couple weeks ago in the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you look at their schedule, it's the Dolphins and the Patriots, the Eagles and the Saints, the Bills, the Niners, the Jets, the Cardinals, and the Seahawks. I mean, that schedule is set up for the Rams to finish pretty strong.
I really do think they're going to finish strong again, and they might be better than, I think they were 10-7 last season.
No! Breaking news.
Oh, what happened?
Coaching legend John Robinson has passed away
Oh.
at 89 years old.
Well, Terry.
God darn it.
John Robinson, a really good head coach for a long period of time. Oh, I forgot to mention the one comment. John Stafford, he had said the Cowboys are going to be the first NFL team to lose 9 games at home. I disagree. Because like what you said, on Thanksgiving, I think they will actually beat the Giants.
Let's finish out. Let's look at the Dallas schedule for the rest of the year. Well, I mean, they'll beat the Texans next week, too.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, all jokes aside, the way the Texans have played the last 2 games, it's going to be a close game.
It will be a close game, and they have a great kicker. So does Dallas.
So Dallas plays the Texans at home only. The Dallas plays the Texans, the Giants, the Bengals, the Bucks, and Washington. I could also see them winning that last game against Washington if that game doesn't mean anything for Washington.
That could very well be the case. The Bengals, they are my second half team to watch. They have been losing a lot of games like this. They had a great performance on Thursday night. Burrow threw for over 400 yards. Jamar Chase caught over 200 yards receiving. But Lamar Jackson guided the Ravens to a 35-34 win. Close game. It could have went either way.
See, I kind of feel the other way. I kind of feel maybe that broke them.
See, okay, I agree with you there. Like most teams, it would have broke them. But this team is still relatively healthy. And I think these losses they're having now are going to turn into wins in the second half of the season.
Problem is again, this is one thing they've got to figure out going forward is, it's funny, talk about Dallas and how terrible they are. The Bengals are 1-4 at home.
Crazy.
It's just weird. But the problem with the Bengals is they start slow, and it's been a thing now for a few years. Now they've been able to dig themselves out at times, but this year, just in front of them in their division alone, you've got the Steelers and the Ravens who are 7-3 and 7-3. You've been swept by the Ravens. Now you haven't played the Steelers at all yet. You'll get 2 of them in the next month. The problem is that the tiebreakers are starting to stack against them.
I'm curious to see what the Steelers do because they haven't played a divisional game yet.
Let's switch over to the Steelers right now because the Steelers yesterday in a thrilling game, no matter what you think about Washington, you got to say one thing. Man, they have some, really close games against good teams and bad teams. Let's not forget 2 weeks ago, everybody remembers the Hail Mary from 3 weeks ago now. 2 weeks ago, they had to outlast the Giants.
Yeah.
So again, this is one of those reasons why, and I'm not saying this because, you're a Cowboy fan. I'm trying to tell Washington people we've seen this with Dan Quinn's defense. And when they play good offenses, they give up points, just like yesterday. They gave up 28 to the Steelers. They gave up 30 to the Ravens. They gave up 33 to the Bengals. They beat the Bengals. Good job on them. They gave up 37 at the beginning of the year to the Buccaneers. So this is why we tell people, like, I'm not saying Dan Quinn does not get any of the credit for the turnaround. He does. But I think it's all on what the offense does, and they're going to be predicated by if they can outscore the good teams. We'll find out Thursday. They play the Eagles. By the way, thank you, NFL. And you and I said this would happen. Once Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit, and it became Amazon Thursday night game, you and I said, oh, they're going to get good games now. They've gotten great games and really fun games, and I think this will be a fun game. But I'm going to say this. I wouldn't be shocked if the Eagles win by a couple touchdowns in this game.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? Why do you say that?
Because again, Dan Quinn. I don't trust Dan Quinn's defense against the good offense.
This has been the thing. You and I talked about this. You already said it. 2021 to 2023 Dallas. 12-5, 12-5, 12-5.
Yep.
Won 2 division titles.
Yep.
The problem I've always had, and you saw it too, is they padded their stats, their wins against bad teams.
Yep.
And whenever they played a average to good team, they did not look good.
Especially if so, Dan. And I'm not saying this isn't inherently a bad thing, but Dan Quinn's defense is predicated on the offense gets out and forces the other team to throw the ball. That's when Dan Quinn, as long as Dan Quinn gets to the quarterback. The whole reason they traded for a secondary help before the trade deadline is if you actually peel back the numbers defensively, the Washington Commanders secondary was like rated last in the league. Uh-oh, I heard a pop. Oh, okay.
Getting Marshawn Lattimore, that was probably the best trade.
Great move.
And
it'll help them.
And congratulations to New Orleans, who traded Marshawn Lattimore, their star cornerback, to Washington. They snapped a 7-game winless streak, and they beat a really good Atlanta team at home. They went back to what they did when they won their first 2 games. They had the big plays. Now instead of,
It's a good call on that. You're right.
Yeah. They have some injuries at wide receiver, but MVS was available. They got him from, I think, the Bills. He had 3 catches over 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. That big play ability that they had the first 2 games, they did not have any more for the last 7, but they had it back this time, and that's what led them to a victory, because Atlanta was rolling. Now, I know this is Atlanta Falcons, so they're bound to screw it up, but they looked good. They were on a roll for a while. So,
well, and to be fair, this is the NFL today, where you go look at the standings, and you've got the Eagles and the Commanders, of course, at the 7-2s. But you look at the West, and it's 6-4, 5-4, 4-4, and 4-5. None of those teams are out. You look at the NFC South at 6-4, 4-6. And I know this sounds crazy, and I'm not saying it's going to happen. But
don't say the Panthers. I know what you're about to say.
No, the Saints. The Saints are still talented enough and have the ability to. Let me look at their schedule before I say this.
Well, because if you look at the NFC South, Atlanta's 6-4, but the Saints are 3-7. So technically, there's 3 games difference.
Yeah, but they've beat. They split. So that's so the Saints next week have the Browns, then they have the Rams. Then they have the Giants, Washington, the Packers. It's hard to believe we're already getting to that point where we only have a few games left in this. Not a few, but you know what I mean. We're at the halfway point, or a little bit over the halfway point. But they have the Browns, the Rams, the Giants, the Commanders, the Packers, the Raiders, the Buccaneers. I mean, they should beat the Browns. They should beat the Giants. They should beat the Raiders. And then the other 3, that's where, if you go 2-1 in those, I mean, you're sitting at 8-9, 9-8, and that's probably going to get you into a playoff.
And they'll definitely be flirting with the playoffs if they can run the table there.
And the best trade they made was firing Dennis Allen, future Dallas Cowboy head coach.
Shut up. Shut up.
Hey, can you finally admit that I was right about one thing?
What?
AFC East sucks this year.
Oh, man. Oh, man. You know what? And I was completely wrong. I thought the health issues that plagued them last season
Yeah.
would reverse itself this season. And I was completely wrong. I will admit it.
Well, now the Jets haven't been an injury issue. Jets are just not a – Jets are the team, and there's always one or two that make a big move, and everybody feels like they finally are built up, but they just weren't constructed right. And that's why I don't know if I can trust the Bills yet. I don't know if I trust anybody outside the Chiefs. All right, let's talk about the Chiefs. 9-0 Chiefs. I have never seen a 9-0 team get so much crap about being 9-0 because they're not winning pretty. Yeah. This isn't college football, folks. Like, it doesn't matter if they're winning pretty or not. I was reading something today. Somebody was, I can't remember where it was. I think I might even say it might have been from ESPN. And it was just talking about all the teams. But the Chiefs part was, yeah, they're 9-0, but do you really think the Bills or the Ravens are looking over and worried about them? Well, yeah, they are, because nobody beats the Chiefs. Like, nobody has beaten the Chiefs when it matters consistently over the last 5 years. So in fact, to me, the fact that they're winning in all these fluky ways just validates, that starts to stick into teams' minds. Grant and I on high school, we always talk about when you play the teams that are great, the blue bloods of high school football, you walk onto the field down 14-0.
Yeah.
And what we mean by that is, in your mind, you're so like, oh my God, we cannot let this team back. If we get up, we can't let them back in. We can't let them back in. They get back in it. That to me is the Chiefs. Every team walks onto the field with them at the beginning of the game thinking, well, crap, no matter what we do at the end of the game, they're going to be in it.
They are not blowing any team out. They survived Tampa on Monday night last week at home in overtime. This is not a team that's blowing anybody out. They've had close wins all season long, but they're winning different ways. It's just, I compared them to the 1990 49ers earlier this season, but the 1990 49ers, they were way more dominant than this Chiefs team. But to their credit, they lost a lot of talent on offense. They lost Rashee Rice, who should have been suspended, but he wasn't. He just tore his ACL.
So, and he won't get suspended.
Yeah, I think he will next season.
And by the way, good. I personally think good on the NFL for actually waiting for this stuff to litigate before you start doing that.
Yeah.
Speaking of, Henry Ruggs might be getting out of prison.
What?
Yeah. I don't know if he will, but he is up for his first. Do you think if he does, do you think anybody gives him a look? Because they will be. Yeah. Somebody will give him a look.
Someone will. It won't be a really good team. It'll probably be a team that's
the Dallas Cowboys.
Dallas Cowboys or Raiders. Going back to the Raiders. No, I don't think it'll be the Chiefs that will do it. It will be someone.
Oh, no, I think the Chiefs actually, with Xavier Worthy. With Rice, because Rice isn't going to be suspended forever. And in fact, look, what he did was crappy, but let's not act like, give me at 20, at 49, give me a Lamborghini in Central Highway or 75. I think it was on 75. I might do stupid things too. It was stupid what he did, but again, we're in a very over judgmental society to act like we all wouldn't do that at 20 years old if we had the money to have a Lamborghini, whether it's rented or not. But I legitimately think the Chiefs are pretty solid now at wide receiver. I could see the Raiders doing it. I could see the Cowboys. Man, it's about time. Jerry hadn't done one of those what's his name, Hardy moves in a while, actually. So it's about time.
Hardy, yes. Oh my gosh, and he was so good with the Panthers, but in 2015 when he came to the Cowboys, it was worthless.
But the thing was he was actually pretty solid at first.
He was. With that one half against the Patriots, he had, I think, 5 sacks.
5? I knew it was something like, I knew it was a lot, but But yeah, so let's have fun bouncing around now. We're an hour and a half into the show. Thank you to the 15,000 people that are
It just
watching.
keeps growing. That's crazy.
I got something brewing. Wait, what?
Oh boy, here we
Does
go.
Antonio Pierce survive the offseason?
Yeah, I think I don't think they'll do what they did with Art Shell and fire him after one season on his second stint. I think I think Pierce will get another year.
I don't know, man, because he hasn't done anything egregious. Like, there's not like these, oh my God, how did you make those moves? I think he should get another year because they don't have a quarterback.
And just like with the Cowboys, they didn't really do anything to address the running back situation.
I think they felt they did. I at least feel like they felt they did address their running back situation.
I like how you worded that. I think they felt that they
Yeah.
addressed it. Yeah, Zamir White and Amir Abdullah. No. Oh, I'm sorry, Alexander Madison as well. I apologize.
Madison's been decent. I mean, not great, but decent.
When you said that initially, I thought you were going to say, "Oh, he's actually been way better than everybody thought."
Well, I mean, if you thought he was going to get 2.8 yards and he's getting 3.2, then yeah, he's been way. I forgot Abdullah was still even in the league. Yeah, the Raiders, the Raiders are that team that, man, you just, me as a Dallas fan, this is why I say changes are always great, but changes don't always mean it gets better. And they are perpetually in this 5-12 loop, it feels like now. And that is the hardest thing to get out of. It's easy to get out of 3-14 because you're going to get, and it's not just the first round pick. You're getting, if you draft right, you're getting 4 high draft picks. If you have all your draft picks that are, your first pick is a first rounder for sure. Your second pick is almost a first rounder. Your third pick is basically a second rounder, and your fourth pick is basically a third rounder. So if you draft right, you immediately have 2 high impact players and 4 starters. The problem with 5-12 is, just like we're talking about with Dallas, is depending on the rest of the league, you might not, that doesn't guarantee you that you get as high of a pick as you think.
Yeah, it really doesn't guarantee anything, to be honest with you.
Let me check that real quick before I say that.
14 minutes left in the second quarter. Dolphins are up 10-0 at LA. Hey, good for them. They're having a good start. So looking at the rest of the league for this week 10 of the NFL season, let's see. San Francisco had the close win at Tampa. That was an interesting story because their kicker, Jake Moody, he had just come back from injury, missed 3 field goals. Him and Deebo Samuel had an issue on the sideline.
Yeah, okay. Yes, Moody was part of it, but Samuel went after the long snapper.
I think the long snapper was trying to get in between them. I think he was more mad at Moody than he was the long snapper, but I think the long snapper sensed what was going on and tried to intervene. That's how I interpreted it.
I'm trying to see what Deebo had to say about this.
Well, he was very apologetic. He basically said it was just heat of the moment, which is a standard, typical reply from athletes when when their team is struggling.
Well, and Samuel, that's very out of character for him.
It was very out of character, yeah.
No, and he did apologize and all, and Moody said no big deal. And, you and I were joking. Moody's been hurt. Moody probably wouldn't have, if they really had their way, I think they'd have wanted to sit him out another week. But Anders Carlson, who this is the typical Jets move. So the Jets pick him up off the practice squad and then elevate some other dude.
Oh my gosh! Hey, speaking of the Jets, man, they go to Arizona. Arizona wins 31 to what? 31 to. Okay.
I just want to set the table, though.
Yes, sir.
The Jets had just, by every proclamation, and I felt this way too. I legitimately felt after last Thursday, okay, the Jets just saved their season. The Jets played a solid Houston team and played them well. Houston didn't just. Houston didn't play great, but it wasn't like Houston had 8 turnovers or anything. And I legitimately thought, and I've been big on Arizona. I was big on Arizona in the preview show. Again, I was big on the NFC West like you were on the AFC East. I was like, dude, if the Cardinals figure it out, they're low-key way better. Budda Baker should probably be in the talk for defensive NFC Player of the Year right now. The dude is the best safety in the league, in my opinion. But I really thought the Jets had turned it around. It's no shame that they lost to Arizona, but my goodness, they got their arse whooped.
It was pretty bad, but it was a complete effort by Arizona. Connor is looking great. Harrison is still not used to the extent of a typical WR1, but he still contributed in there. I think he had 6 catches. It was a total team effort, but yeah, Kyler Murray, man, I'm so impressed with him. I'm very happy for him. I'm very sad for Jets fans, though, because I've always liked the Jets. There's one of those AFC teams that I've always liked just because I like their uniforms. And I love this is one of my favorite uniform games of the weekend.
Oh, it was beautiful, dude. It was, and I'm not real big on, I call it college or high school. I'm not real big on the NFL when you wear the Reds. By the way, we'll finish this thought and we'll go back to them. And I think you know where I'm going to go with that when I'm talking Reds. But I thought yesterday looked gorgeous. I've said this before. The Jets are one of those teams. The Giants are one of those teams. They have 2 great looks, and all they need to do is bounce back between them. They don't need to do anything else. They never need to add anything else. If you want to just wear one look all the time, I like the idea now, like everybody's doing, where you just split it, wear your classic look a couple times. The Jets look gorgeous. I think Arizona is very underrated with their look. Again, you and I talked about, especially the road look. It looks like the 70s Cardinals, and I mean that in all the great ways.
100%, exactly. I think that was on purpose too.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, the all white with the
all white
Cardinal. Yeah.
America's still last week, so don't fight it. No.
Let's not get into that. No, but just with the Cardinals, it's like a whole team performance. I'm really happy for Jonathan Gannon, his second year as head coach for the Cardinals. If you just look at like Trey Benson, is getting some carries with James Conner, and then Mari DeMercado is getting some touches.
Trey McBride, dude.
Trey McBride, one of the top 5 tight ends in football.
How did we do this? How did we go from you and I? We talked about this so much last year. We didn't understand how this tight end revitalization that had been happening for a few years just died last year. But all of a sudden, it's back again where you have 5 to 9, and I'll put Jake Ferguson there. I feel like Jake Ferguson's getting really hamstringed by the offense. I think if Jake Ferguson was with what we thought this offense would be, you would see better numbers. But all of a sudden, tight ends are viable again, and I love that.
Tight ends and running backs.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, but you and I called that. And the reason tight ends are viable again, folks, this is why. For too many years, the safeties played in. They've figured it out, just like they've done in other times. Sports is cyclical. Offense versus defense is cyclical. Right now, defenses are better because of pass rush, and safeties playing back, forcing quarterbacks to dump it down. You want to make a point of that's part of the whole Cooper Rush thing. The Eagles just played their safeties back and said, all right, Cooper, dump it down. Beat us that way. And they couldn't. In 2022, when he stepped in, he literally, again, because the Cowboys had a running game that forced the safeties down, he would hit them over the top 4 times a game, and that would, they would win. But yeah, running backs and tight ends have that middle of the field to work through right now.
I love it, man. I always loved the tight end position. As a kid growing up, I always loved Eric Green with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Shannon Sharp with the Broncos. Obviously, Jay Novacek had he was Mr. 3rd and 4 for me. Yep. Anytime it was 3rd and short, Aikman would find Novacek. And obviously, there was other great players like Brent Jones and Mark Shaburo with the Packers. So
Mark Bavaro.
Bavaro, yeah, with the Giants and later
Doug
with the
Cosby.
Eagles. Doug Cosby with the 80s Cowboys that we covered, last year with the last year or 2 years ago with the look backs.
2 years ago.
Yeah, okay. We've done a lot of shows.
Yeah, we really have, man. I mean, we do 17 of these, and then as I was telling, I think I was telling L Dog, gourmet hot dogs. Again, you can check them out. Awesome.
Yeah.
We are also. I mean, I love our in season, but I live for our off season shows.
Because we can exercise our creative juices, so to speak. We can actually think about, and we're already talking about like doing stuff for next season.
Oh, next year, go ahead and tell everybody right now because we got 13,000 watching us. Next year, we dive fully into the OutDrank the Coverage pool. Multiple shows a week. We're gonna up our reels and TikTok game. I've redone the studio for the 1,000th time to create a individual set for me to where I can do more individual weekly stuff instead of it doing it from here. We can do it from setup's all important. So yeah, it's gonna we're gonna. I can't. I mean, I'm excited about this year, but especially with some of the ad people coming on. Some, we love the locals, but also we were getting some of the national advertisers coming on. We're going to be doing so many things with OutDrank the Coverage and a look back. That's why I said it. The Thanksgiving one, we're recording it next Monday, but the Thanksgiving one, I am so excited to be doing because, it's as I said, that's my favorite time of. I just love Thanksgiving football on all levels, high school, college, this year especially Texas and A&M are back, and then
that's going to be great.
Especially the way that it looks like it's going to come down to it might be winner gets into the SEC championship game, and so I just love Thanksgiving football, and even when Dallas is bad, to me. The world is a better place when Dallas wins on Thanksgiving. That's why I had been so frustrating. Even as good as Dallas has been since 2015, they just went through this stretch. And part of it was because they were playing really good teams on Thanksgiving, like the Bills, like the Raiders the year that they lost to the Raiders. That was a good Raider team.
They ended up making the playoffs that season. Yeah,
that was a great game, 36-33 in overtime. But I mean, just when Dallas wins on that, even when they're bad, if Dallas can beat the Giants, I will be happy for at least 10 days.
Yeah, it is nice when the Cowboys win on Thanksgiving, but you and I both love Thanksgiving for many reasons: the food, family, quality time with them, and then just watching football. You and I both are football junkies. We probably have forgotten a lot of football that we probably have forgotten more football than a lot of people know. That's a little egotistical, but like it's not because we're trying to compete for a prize. We just love the sport so much. But man, speaking of you bring up Texas and A&M. College football is kind of crazy this season.
Yeah, let's pivot over to the college football game. I think this is exactly what us college football fans that have wanted a playoff system that was a true playoff system for years said this would happen. And people try to say, oh, yeah, but man, it'll take away from the regular season. No, it doesn't. When more teams have a chance, that never takes away from the regular season. That makes the regular season awesome. Nobody next week, this Sunday, week 11 of the NFL season, there's not one fan that's going to be like, I'm not going to watch this week. Playoffs. No, you watch because your 6-4 team still has a legitimate chance to make the playoffs. Now, of course, in college, you don't at 6-4. But my point is, a team like, Georgia, they've lost 2 games. They still can make the playoffs. That's over.
And they have a tough matchup against Tennessee this weekend.
I kind of feel like they'll blow the doors off Tennessee.
I mean, for them, I would hope they do. But yeah, this is going to be a tough matchup. And then, hey, our underdog is SMU. They're right there. They are almost there. They've only lost 1 game this season. It took almost 40 years since they were they had the death penalty essentially put on them. But they're in the position. They're 8-1. They're number, I think, 13 in the country. I'm not sure what their playoff position is going to be. The playoff polls come out tomorrow on Tuesdays. So,
Well,
yeah, I
they're
mean,
going to still be on the outside looking in, but the thing is if they win the conference they're in.
I feel, yeah, they will. And then I think Boise State right now is the top team that's outside of the Power Four.
Yeah, future Cowboy running back Ashton Jeffrey has been amazing this year. No, I legitimately think that he's a Cowboy.
Are you sure? Because I thought Jonathan Brooks was going to be a Cowboy before the Panthers scooped him up.
But by all accounts, that was going to be Dallas's pick, and then the Panthers scooped him up. So look, the issue with SMU is their one win that you hang your hat on is Louisville. And look, Louisville's perfectly fine, but Louisville's 3-2. And so again, that's the issue with SMU is they just don't have a quality win. I mean, a quality, like a hang your hat. And you can say, well, Texas doesn't either. Yeah, but Texas's schedule will give them that. They'll either beat or lose to A&M at the end of the year, and that'll be a good quality win. And then they'll play. If they win, they'll play in the SEC title game. For SMU, their next quality win will be who they play in the ACC title game.
I mean, are there really that many quality teams in the ACC right now?
No, that's my whole point. I mean, Clemson has rebounded nicely, but I don't. I mean, they're 17th ranked.
It is a very sad conference this season.
Solid conference. It's just it doesn't have any. I mean, you could make the case that it's Miami, getting upset, but I mean, when you look at it.
You kind of saw Miami I mean, there was like 3 games where they probably should have lost.
And that's usually how it works for a team in like any team in college football that's undefeated and then gets beat. It rarely comes out of nowhere. Usually there's 2 games ahead before where they'll be sluggish and win, and they might even have a miracle. How the hell did they pull that one out win? And then they finally get beat. But Miami's still I still think Miami's perfectly fine. When you look at what they've got, they had just beat Louisville 2 weeks ago. And give Georgia Tech credit. And I think Georgia Tech, and by the way, Haynes King, a quarterback from Longview, Texas. But give Georgia Tech credit. They beat Miami last year. So they have a thing against Miami. But yeah, I mean, I still think Miami's the best overall team in the conference.
I mean, I think they're a great team, obviously, but it's just all those close wins. There's always a question mark for me when I think about Miami, and with Clemson too. I mean, I think this is an open conference. I can't really think of any team that could actually break through. I thought Pittsburgh might have derped their way into the title game. Duke, to me, Duke looks better this year than they did last year. But yeah, there's really no strong team in this conference outside of SMU and Miami and maybe Clemson and Louisville. So,
I mean, that's 4 teams in a conference. That's pretty
but
good.
They're like, I don't think SMU is that great of a team, but I just like their underdog story, just, considering what happened with them in the 80s, and they've struggled ever since.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the Big 12?
About the same. I'm kind of rooting for BYU to actually run the table, and which look at their schedule, they probably could. If you look at the rest of the schedule, they play home game versus Kansas, who had a big win this weekend, at Arizona State, and then home game versus Houston. They could probably finish 12-0.
I think they will.
And
I like Colorado.
That would be a big statement win. I know a lot of, now going back to the NFL, there's a lot of people talking about this rumor that Deion Sanders, him and Mike Zimmer were BFFs ever since the mid-90s when Zimmer was coaching with the Cowboys and Sanders was a Cowboy.
Yeah.
Zimmer came to Jacksonville State, moved over to Colorado as an assistant or consultant. There's a rumor that if Zimmer stays, it's because Deion Sanders is going to be the head coach for Dallas in 2025.
Deion Sanders would not keep Mike Zimmer as defensive coordinator.
They love each other. I'm telling you.
That's fine, but at the end of the day, you got to win. And There is no. First
Love,
off, Sanders.
love never fails.
First off, Deion Sanders is not the next Cowboy coach. The only reason people are saying that is because Deion Sanders played for Dallas, and him and Jerry Jones have a pretty good relationship. But even if Deion Sanders is named head coach, Mike Zimmer is not your defensive coordinator. I thought we were doing the last one at the end of the show. I'm doing root beer.
This is not really the end of the show, but
No, we got a few more minutes left. We're having a good time.
hey, if y'all still listening, we'll keep talking.
We'll keep doing 99 proof and Stro. No, we will finish the Stro bottle tonight if we get to 18,000 people.
Why would you say that? Cheers, buddy. Love you. All right. So back to college football. Colorado's had a great year. I really love the fact that they're committing more to the running game, and their defense is not as terrible as they were last year. Colorado is ranked 18th right now. They're 7-2. Kudos to them. But yeah, right now, if the season ended today, BYU and Colorado would play for the Big 12 title game. I think Colorado would win that game. They have the stars.
I still, and this is one of the reasons why I don't think Deion will become an NFL head coach, at least not yet. I still worry about Colorado when it comes to situational football. That's where they still struggle when they play a team like Kansas State and they lose. It's because they don't do well with situational football, and they've got to. That's something they've got. Deion as a coach just has to figure out.
Yeah, I mean he's only in year 2 at Colorado now. I know he had the year at Jacksonville State. I'm not sure if he did a year or 2, but
at Jackson State.
Yeah, but hey, yeah, he's been successful everywhere he's gone.
Yeah.
Last year Colorado they had this strong start, terrible finish, but I mean he's rebounded to this year. Whatever he did in the offseason, it's been working. I just love the fact that they're more of an more well-rounded team this year than they were last year. I'm not sure if the conference change has anything to do with it, but they look a lot more complete, I would say, than last year.
I'll tell you what, we're going to take a quick break.
Oh, okay.
Because I want to keep talking and I don't want this show to end, but me drinky, me pee.
Okay, so a quick 3-minute break, or
yeah, we're just gonna run a commercial and I'm gonna outrace it. Here we go. We'll be right back on OutDrank the Coverage, and that means it's bug season. Heck, who am I kidding? It's always bug season in Texas, and that's why you need Grandeur Pest Solutions in your corner. They're locally owned and operated. They're trained, they're trustworthy, and they have a proven record as they have been in business for almost 10 years. They provide pest control against ants, bed bugs, bees, roaches, fleas, wasps, mosquitoes, rodents, spiders. If it crawls and you don't like it, they're probably going to take care of it for you. Now, they serve all of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and they're locally owned. These two guys have been running this business since 2013, and every year they get bigger and bigger. But you know what they still do? They still have great customer service. In fact, if you get a hold of them, they're usually going to have your quote and your job ready to go within 48 hours. That's pretty good. Now, you can call them for a free estimate at 469-809-1769. You can find them online at Grandeur4, that's the number 4, shore.com. You can also find them on Facebook. Just type in Grandeur Pet Solutions, and we are so happy that they're title sponsor for OutDrank the Coverage in 2023. All right, we are back here. I'm putting back my earbuds on. Question, going back to Colorado, I want to finish that. Travis Hunter, how good will he be in the NFL, and what position will he end up settling into play? Because here's the thing I love about Travis Hunter. Like, when Deion played both positions, and I think we see that if Deion would have concentrated at wide receiver, he'd have been an all-pro Hall of Fame wide receiver probably. But he looked like a defensive guy playing wide receiver. When other, the only guy that always looked natural at both, but partly was because he wasn't great at both, but he was really good at both, was Troy Brown, former Pat. He had that run where he became kind of the all everything for them. That's the greatness of Bill Belichick. But when Travis Hunter plays wide receiver, he looks like a wide receiver. When Travis Hunter plays corner, he looks like a corner. He looks natural at both. Do you see an NFL team taking a chance and playing him both in a way to where he could be a guy with 6 interceptions and 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns?
I think with Travis Hunter, you kind of have to throw out history. You kind of have to. I think you have to show Ohtani this and say that whoever
get his translator to bet on baseball. Okay, I don't know if that'll help. Sure,
that and I think you should test it. He might be that player that changes the game. He might be the guy that says, "Hey, we can do both. I can be an elite all-pro cornerback, and I can be an elite all-pro wide receiver." I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying from what I've seen in college, what he has done on the field, and how the team looks with him on the field and not on the field, it's night and day. I would, for at least the first year, try him both ways. Now, I know there's a factor that I'm not considering here where, like, health, durability, stability.
But so far, he has been a guy that's pretty healthy, and he has a build that's like, he doesn't really feel like, he doesn't seem like a guy that's going to be injury prone. Whoa, we got an email, by the way. You can email the show, ODTC show at
nice. An email. Nice.
Intern Noe and Terry, I enjoy your show, and I like to drink when y'all drink. Let me ask you this. Who will be, if the Cowboys make a change, who will be the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys?
Do you want to answer this, or you want me to answer this
Well,
first?
you go first.
Bill Belichick.
Yeah, I think that's the most obvious.
I love his coach YouTube channel. Matt Patricia looks like a competent NFL coach when I watch that. That is the greatest compliment I can give him.
Matt Patricia, as a defensive guy, was a perfectly fine coach. Now, I know this sounds crazy, but I think the thing that could keep that from happening is Bill Belichick is dating a 24-year-old. And Bill Belichick is living his best life. There was pictures of them at Halloween doing goofy stuff. And it didn't even look like Bill Belichick was like, I'm only here because I have to be. He looked like he was having fun.
Yeah.
Wait, are we doing it?
No, not yet. I'm just, whenever we close out the show, I just want to make sure I prepare it.
Okay, let's do it now then.
And I also want to let you know that I'm finishing off the stro.
Well, let's just go ahead and do it now. Not to end the show, but let's just do the shot now.
Why?
Because I got to get up early, so I got to do this quick.
So do I.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
You work in oil and gas. Y'all just won.
What do you mean? What do you mean, you people?
Oh, we got back up to 15,000 people. Holy.
When you said oil and gas, and when I said you people.
No.
Keywords.
Let's do a half shot. We'll do a half shot now. Okay.
All right.
So for me, outside of Belichick, and I do think there's a world where Belichick's like, no, I'm good.
He might be, but he's so close to breaking Don Shula's all-time NFL coach wins record. So I would think he would continue coaching.
But I can't remember if it was Peter King had came on to the ticket talking the other day. He used to do a weekly show, but of course he retired, but he still comes on occasionally. I think it was on the ticket. I can't remember, but Peter King was like, yeah, that's a thing that, he would love, but I don't think he chases it as much as people think he does. I still contend that there's that cowboy itch. Again, if people don't understand, Bill Belichick was a massive fan of the 70s Cowboys. And I don't mean like a fan like rah, rah, rah. Like he just really respects Tom Landry. He respects Roger Staubach. If you ever want to go back and go to YouTube and go look up when they were doing the 100th anniversary team and they had the panel and Bill Belichick was on the panel. And basically if any 70s Cowboy was brought up, he was a litany of information. And he knew everything about them. And he has talked many. I still remember there's an NFL films where he's with the Giants, and it's like I don't know if it was his first year as defensive coordinator. I don't think it was. I think that Giants had gotten pretty good. But it's the beginning of the game, and Parcells walks over to him, and he's like, you ready? We got this. You got this. And Belichick's like, yeah. Whew. Tom Landry. Woo! Okay, I got this. I mean, it was cool to see, but he is a huge fan of that. So I think there is a big part of him that would love to be like, I want to coach the Cowboys. Now, shut up, people, if you're going to tell me, yeah, but him and Jerry Jones are good friends. Also, this is part of that whole thing where Jerry gets made a scapegoat. Jerry Jones does not meddle with coaches as much as people think he does. Like, that has never been the thing that people think he does. They all know the Jimmy Johnson story, but Bill Parcells has said 1,000 times, like, I had no problem with Jerry Jones. People say, well, he left. Yeah, Bill Parcells has admitted, yeah, I left too early. I was just so frustrated. I was tired. And let's be honest, Bill Parcells took the Cowboy job because he was going through a divorce and needed money. So it wasn't like, he was 100% into it. But even he admits, I left a year early. I don't think that would be a problem at all. First off, I think Bill Belichick is way too old to try to walk in and be like, I need to control the roster because, okay, so you're going to be drafting and you're not going to even be here in a couple of years. I do think, though, that that's still the most likely. But now let's move him out and talk about other people. And yes, it wouldn't shock me if Jerry talked to Dion. I just don't think that's going to happen. Honestly, if you look at the history, he tends to want coaches now that have coached before. And I jokingly say this, but man, a Ron Rivera just sounds like somebody that would come in and knock it out of the park in the interview, like Mike McCarthy did. I would love Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator for the Lions, but let's be honest. There's no guarantee, though, that he's going to be a good head coach. Like, he might just be a really good offensive coordinator.
Hey, that could very well be true, but he would be a guy with – if Dallas can get Bill Belichick, I would definitely love Ben Johnson. He's the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions, the 8-1 Detroit Lions, who – definitely always look good on offense.
He forced Jared Goff to throw 5 interceptions last night.
And they still won.
5. Sam Darnold and Jared Goff threw 8 total interceptions, folks.
But the Lions still scored 26 points.
And the Lions still scored 26 points. Good point there. Darnold threw 2 of those in the red zone, and the Lions and Vikings won. Again, I go back to my point. We've got to stop being overly sensitive about interceptions. You can win games turning the ball over. It's perfectly doable, folks. I hearken, and again, we all hearken back to the era that we grew up in. I grew up in where, man, Danny White could throw 5 TDs and 3 interceptions in one game, and no one said boo about it. I think I want to get back to there, Jameis Winston. I love you. I want to get back to there, Joe Flacco. But again, I love both of them because they can give us 5 touchdowns or they can give us 5 interceptions. You never know which one you're going to get. And sometimes you'll get both in the same game. I still love Jameis. My favorite football season of all time is Jameis Winston's 30 touchdown, 30 interception. That should put him in the Hall of Fame alone.
And you know, the 30th interception was in overtime.
Yes.
And it was a pick 6 to lose the game.
In overtime to lose a game. That's the greatest thing ever. But yeah, I legitimately do. I think a Ron Rivera type. I'm trying to pull back like somebody else like that. Non-joking aside, a Jack Del Rio type, because those are the people that make Jerry feel safe. because they're going to be guys who are on their fourth or fifth job and they're just happy to have a job. And I will say this, I do see a world where Mike McCarthy stays. And I don't necessarily have a problem. I have no problem with Mike McCarthy as head coach. Mike McCarthy as head coach has not been the overriding issue with this team. Now, we can say, well, Mike McCarthy's defensive coordinator hires 1 out of 3 is not good. But to be honest, and this is where I do think Jerry meddles, how much did Mike have in the say of Zimmer as the head coach? I mean, as defensive coordinator, we don't know. But
Stars win 7-1, FYI.
Giving up 1 goal, that team's never going to win anything. They're freaking false. But no, I see a legitimate path where Mike McCarthy stays as a head coach, but they completely clean out honestly, this is me. If I'm Jerry Johnson, hey, I'm just mixing them up. If I'm Jerry Jones, keep Mike McCarthy. Give Al Harris a chance at defensive coordinator and figure out the offensive coordinator. And tell Mike, look, dude, we've got to get a real offensive coordinator again. You're just, whatever you're doing ain't working. So this is where, as a fan, it gets fun because we don't know what they're going to do. And honestly, I like the drama as it's 10-3 now, the Dolphins with 46 seconds left in the first half. I like the drama of that. The offseason is going to at least be fun, if nothing else, for Dallas.
Yeah. I mean, there's a huge question mark. We don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a big wish list. A lot of Cowboy fans would want to be checked off, but we don't know what's going to happen. And if I could remove myself from being a Cowboys fan, I would enjoy what's going to happen with Dallas in the offseason. This season's nothing's going to happen this season, but what they do going into next season is very interesting. And I'm very curious of what they're going to do.
Give me an outside, and this is on the spot, and I'm trying to think of one. I guess technically Deion Sanders would count as an outside, hire. But give me an outside guy that nobody's talking about, because I actually have one.
Okay, well, we already referenced Belichick, Ben Johnson, and Deion Sanders.
Jimmy
so I have to. You did not say Jimmy Johnson.
I'm kidding. I would not want Jimmy Johnson.
He's 82 years. He's the same age as Jerry Jones.
Also, Jimmy Johnson didn't win with a salary cap. His style of coaching doesn't work with a salary cap.
Yeah, the mid to late 90s Dolphins.
And that's the reason why that's one of the reasons why he never went back into head coaching. Again, I have the audio book of his, and he literally talks about it. He's admitted the salary cap doesn't work for him because for the psychological things that Jimmy does, the fear of being cut has to be there, and you just can't do that at a certain salary level today in the NFL today.
He hasn't been impressing at UCLA, but I would want the Cowboys, if they're going to do it, if they're not going to do defense and get Brian Flores, I would want them to go offensive and consider Eric Bieniemy. And that would be a history-making hire for the Cowboys. They never had a black head coach.
I think
Bieniemy will be a very historic, and he had success with Kansas City. Mahomes and all of them vouched for him and said that he was a big part of that success.
Yeah, but I think we've seen since he's left in that Andy Reid and no matter who called the plays, the structure of Andy Reid is what made him successful.
I mean, the offense hasn't been as good since he left.
He doesn't even call the plays, though. I mean, that has nothing to do with Eric Bieniemy. I think that's just the structure of the NFL. I think if you go offensive, Steve Sarkisian.
So UT head coach Steve Sarkisian leaves the UT and goes to the Cowboys. Okay. That's an interesting one.
I mean, he's an offensive guy.
He is an offensive guy. He kind of, he had some struggles in college, personal issues, but then he kind of had a, kind of a reclamation project going to Alabama.
Yep.
Got his crap together, and then went to Texas, and UT went to the playoffs last year. They're a top 5 team this year. So yeah, I mean, I could see them going the college route. They did it with Barry Switzer, even though he was out of the college, sphere when they hired him. But yeah, I could definitely see that. I never really thought about college because I can't think of another college coach that would be remotely close.
Do you give? I mean, again, we're talking out of Jerry. We're not talking about guys that we. Does he?
Yeah.
Does he call a Nick Saban?
No.
Okay.
Saban is retired.
Oh no, I'm not
To
saying.
me.
No, I know he's retired, but I'm saying, does Jerry at least kick the tires on that?
He might kick the tires, maybe consulting, but Nick Saban, legendary head coach for the Alabama Crimson Tide, LSU Tigers, Michigan State Spartans, 2 years with the Dolphins, underrated 2 years. A lot of people trash and say it was garbage. He had a pretty solid 2 years with the Dolphins,
and they made and he might have been a part of this, but they make the right decision at quarterback. And it wasn't, again, this is one of those things where people look back. It wasn't like in the moment picking Dante Culpepper was a big mistake. You had both of them were coming off injuries, but Drew Brees was coming off of an arm injury that literally they didn't know if he would if he was just going to become the next Chad Pennington. Yeah. And so, yeah, I agree with you. Underrated, but yeah, I'm just throwing out names on the NFL, man. I'm just trying to think. I mean, and part of it also what happens to does Kyle Shanahan get fired? Because I think if Kyle Shanahan gets fired, I think he'd be a guy. I think 25 people are trying to get him to be a guy. I could see them looking at a Doug Peterson. I don't like the hire. We're just talking about guys. Jerry Jones is going to go with people that he's comfortable with.
Yeah, I mean, Shanahan, they've invested 8 years with him in San Francisco.
They've had 8 years too.
They went to many NFC title games. They went to 2 Super Bowls. They went to overtime last season in the Super Bowl. That's as close as he's gotten.
Well, they've led in every Super Bowl he's been in as a coach. He's led in the fourth quarter. I just realized who the next Cowboy coach is.
Oh no! Don't say that, because then we'll all have a lot of hope.
No, not him. It's somebody else.
All right, who?
Cliff Kingsbury.
Oh, because he's having such a great year with the Washington Commanders.
Well, I'll say this. I think he is 90% of the reason why Washington is good this year. Can't you make the case that he learns his lessons from the first?
I'm just so glad that I'm done with Stroh. No, I mean, honestly, a lot of great head coaches. Bill Belichick, we referenced earlier, is a good example. He is a coach that learned his lessons from being a Cleveland Brown head coach, and he translated that into being the Patriots coach in the 24-year run he had there with the New England. Sometimes Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll was the head coach for one season with the New York Jets, and because of a fake spike by Dan Marino, they had a slide in 1994. He gets fired.
That's a great point.
He goes to the college ranks. Actually, he goes to the Patriots. Actually, this is a third time. Has 3 solid years, not great years, but solid. Gets fired, goes to USC, has a dominant run in the 2000s, goes back in the NFL with the Seahawks, and then has a great run. So third time was the charm for Pete Carroll. But yeah, a lot of these head coaches, some of them are really good. They just need to fail once or twice. So yeah, I mean, to your point, I really think with Kingsbury, maybe he needs a second chance.
I mean, when you look at his time in Arizona, he was 28-37. But you have to remember where they were when he came in 2019. He was 5-10, then 8-8, and then 11-6, and then the season bottomed out the very next year at 4-13. And to be fair, the 11-6 they started extremely hot. They collapsed at the end of the year, and then they limped into the playoffs and they got beat. But I'm just saying it's not like Cliff Kingsbury went to Arizona and was 3-13, 3-13. I mean he had a winning season, a 500 season, a 5-10 season, and a tie. Let's not forget that tie in 2019.
Yes,
And then again, that 2022 season, things collapsed. I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with them kicking the tires on him.
he's in his mid-40s. He's had a lot of experience.
His
He's
offenses are always dynamic and good.
dynamic and good. I agree. And it works in today's NFL. That's a big factor. He's bounced around as a backup quarterback, as a head coach in college, head coach in the NFL, consultant. So yeah, I mean, I still remember 2012 with A&M, a great offensive coordinator. I mean, he made Menzel a Heisman Trophy winner. That was a great A&M team that season. They had some bad losses at home, just 2 bad losses that really prevented them from being champions. Because they had the big win in Tuscaloosa against Alabama. But Kingsbury is a good one, man. That I don't know how long you thought about that one, but that is a very good option at head coach. He's doing a fantastic job in Washington as the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, he really is. He really is. And I'm trying to think of other people. I mean, there are people like in my, if I got to hire anybody list, I've told you this. I love Mike McDaniel.
Yeah,
I love Sean McVay.
Yeah, McVay's a good one. And he even admitted what the one thing I like about McVay more than anything is he acknowledged that he fumbled on Jared Goff.
Yeah, he admits that the Bill Belichick fear of Bill Belichick and the Patriots defense, he kind of choked in the moment.
I just love that he acknowledged that. Head coach is showing some humility, goes a long way with me. And I think that goes a long way with like their success. He's already the all-time winningest Ram coach of all time. He comes to Dallas, I would be very happy. He's young. He's under 40.
I'm trying to think of defensive guys right now. It's kind of weird because we are in a defensive renaissance as far as the league.
Zach Orr.
Which one's he?
I think he was the guy that ended up becoming the new Ravens defensive coordinator.
Yeah, the problem with that.
Let me make sure though.
The problem with that is that's a team that's known for being defensive. So is he doing anything different, or is he just stepping in and being, that guy, the same guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's him. And to be fair, the defense has struggled a lot lately too. Let's just point that out.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm trying to think of any coaches that are head coaches that you could. I could legitimately see a Sean. I'm not saying it's going to happen, folks. So don't. I could see a Sean McVay moving on from the Rams this year, though.
Man, but the location. I mean, Inglewood, California. He has a nice contract.
Yeah, but they're going to have to rebuild here soon.
They will. They kind of already started doing that after 2021. I mean,
one wide receiver and one running back, and we know the shelf life of running backs, they don't last long. That's an old team, dude.
I mean, last year they kind of went through a youth movement, not like what the Packers did, but they did go through a youth movement where they just started inserting out of necessity. I will admit that. They had gone over the cap. They needed to just go young out of necessity, but they had Raheem Morris. They were able to draft well. they had a lot of young project guys, but it ended up working out, and it ended up creating some actual good talent for
No,
the.
you're right. I'll give you credit. You're right. They're 31st and they're 25. Their average roster is 25, which, by the way, the difference, I think we overrate the age of rosters because the oldest roster coming into this year was Buffalo at 27, and the youngest roster is Green Bay at 25. We're talking about 2 years. Here's what scares you, though. If you're the Carolina Panthers, you have the second oldest roster.
Oh wow!
Dallas, by the way, is firmly right in the middle at 26. But
But
if you think of the moves they'll probably make, you're going to lose Zach Martin and DeMarcus Lawrence. Those are two 35 and 36-year-olds right there. So that's going to bring that thing down by a lot. But no, you're right. I don't know. I guess maybe it's just who they are. I just don't see the Rams as particularly like their impact players outside of Pikachu. I don't really see them being and like I like their running back, but again, running backs don't last long. So him being young now won't matter in 2 years when they need to.
But Pikachu, for whoever's listening still, Puka Nakua.
Pikachu. Punching Pikachu.
Yeah, I really can't think of anyone else that would be a future Cowboys head coach out of who.
Tennessee coach from.
Don't even tell me Jeff Fisher.
No, dude. God, yeah. No. What's
no. Stop. Get that out of your head.
No,
it was in your head, and you threw it out. In your head, threw it out.
That at least would be. Hey,
3-pointer.
Hey, at least Jeff Fisher can't be 7-9 or 9-7 in today's NFL.
7-9-1.
What's his name that was fired 2 years ago or last year?
Oh, Vrabel.
Vrabel. Actually, geez, I just didn't think Vrabel is perfect. That's
I would actually not mind Mike Vrabel being the Cowboys
Holy
head coach.
crap! You and I agree on a lot. That's one of them. I think that dude was terrible. I think he took a Super Bowl roster and just absolutely bent it over the table and destroyed it. And the Titans are where they're at now because of him. I am not to me, he's he's Jason Garrett level of terrible. I am not I would be genuinely sad if he became the Cowboy head coach because I think the Cowboys would then go into a 5-12 spin.
I think it needs to just completely tear down.
You can't do that in the NFL. First off, there's no point in the NFL nowadays. You can tear down in a year. Like if Dallas, again, I say that, and people will Dallas draft. Go look at Dallas draft the last 10 years. And yeah, you can point out Taco Charlton, and you can point out Claiborne, and you can point out Mosley Smith, and then I can point out CeeDee Lamb. I can point out Zach Martin, Travis Frederick, Tyron Smith, Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence. I mean, the Cowboys have drafted just way better than they haven't drafted over the last 10 years. So I will admit that if they get a top 10 draft pick, I trust them to make really good picks. So Dallas could easily, with the right picks, be 12-5 next year again. Easily. I mean, that's not even I legitimately think that's probably what's going to happen because I don't think, as crappy as everything has been this year, I don't think Dallas is as bad as they've been this year. I think if you bring Mike Vrabel in, they go to crap. I don't have, and you know this. I was saying this when they went to the AFC title game.
Yeah,
I have never been a big fan of his. I think he is the absolute the worst type of coach you want. He's safe. He won't do anything serious. He won't do not serious. He won't do anything dangerous until it's obvious. It's the same thing with Riverboat Ron. Yeah, it was easy to go for it on 4th and 1 when you were about to miss the playoffs. Oh, you made it. Oh, my God, Riverboat Ron. That's Mike Vrabel.
It's the most misaccurate nickname you can give to someone. He's a defensive coach too.
That's a really good point right there. But no, but Mike Vrabel, I will admit that seems like a very, and it is. I joke he wouldn't be 5-12. That is a safe hire. He just like I thought Mike McCarthy was a safe hire, and I think outside of 2010, and we can talk about the defensive issues, but I do think Dak and that offense was good enough to keep them competitive all year. But because hell, they were competitive after they almost. I mean, again, Andy Dalton doesn't get absolutely brained in Washington, which I still don't understand how that wasn't a penalty and there wasn't suspensions in this NFL world of being safe. But if Andy Dalton doesn't get hurt in that game and miss 3 games, Dallas legitimately might have made the playoffs in 2020. People forget that. They turned it around, but he got hurt, and then they were Gail Gilbert. Not Gail, it wasn't Gail, but Gail Gilbert at quarterback, and I think Johnny Manziel showed up at one point. I think Vince Young played punter. But Mike Vrabel would be a safe hire. I've just never been a big fan of his.
I like what he did the first 3 years with Tennessee. You have to admit that there was some success.
Yeah,
they even had a number 1 seed in 2021.
And what happened with that?
They got upset by the Bengals, who ended up making the Super Bowl and almost won the Super Bowl.
I think they sacked Joe Burrow 42 times in that game.
And they still almost won the Super Bowl.
Joe Burrow will definitely have CTE at some point. Actually, that might be why he's so everybody thinks he's Joe Cool in his mind right now. He's just like, wow, Joe Burrow is so cool. Nothing bothers him. I put the catch, Jamar. Jamar's like, just throw me the ball, dude. Just what? Okay, I'll punt it. Anyway, I think we're gonna put this one to bed, buddy. This has been a great show. We want to thank our new sponsors, L Dog Gourmet Hot Dogs, Lazy Dog Kettle Corn. We like dogs here, especially when you give us food. Again, in studio next week, we've got us a Houston Texans versus Dallas Cowboys watching party. You got to love the Cowboys, man. The Cowboys are so petty that when they're going to play Houston and it might be a good game, Dallas is just going to be terrible and be like, ha, even though you beat us, we suck. Actually, this would be the most Dallas thing, was to beat the Texans next week. Cooper Rush and Trey Lance combined for 200 yards of, well, nothing. I don't know, I'm just trying.
Yeah.
I'll just say this, folks. You and I are probably going to be really drunk for most of that game because it's hard to watch the Cowboys right now.
It is a very trying season.
You're trying.
Yeah. I'm thinking of teams to root for the rest of the season.
Oh, that's obviously a good. Let's end with that. Who are you rooting for to the rest of the season?
I mean, Detroit is my sympathetic favorite. You know, I want to get the curse of Bobby Lane out.
So my problem with Detroit, and it's not their fault, it's what happens. Their fans are starting to become a little obnoxious, like a little bit like, you ain't got there yet, folks. And it's real. The hardest part is not getting to where you're at now. It's finishing. And I still don't trust that defense when it matters. Still really, really don't.
Without Aiden Hutchinson, it's not going to be as good.
I think the Zadarius Smith trade was real. I liked them getting Zadarius Smith more than I did them going after Max Crosby. And I know they really, really wanted to go after Max Crosby. I think, this is not a knock on Max Crosby, but I think Max Crosby is one of those guys that every bad team has one of those guys that he's good, but a lot of it, I think, is because he's on a really bad team. I think if you put him in high-stakes situation, I don't know if he's going to be the impact player. I think Zadarius Smith is that perfect. He's not a superstar, but he's really, really solid.
Yeah. Zadarius Smith, though, he'll be very solid, and he'll definitely complement a very good Lions defense that really improved their secondary with Carlton Davis, and they drafted Terry Arnold. I think they'll be able to hang with most teams in the NFC.
Oh, I do too. I think so too. I think the Lions are, hell, you can make the case right now that they're a favorite in the NFC.
Yeah, I think so too.
And I'm still rooting for the Texans. I like how the Texans are built. I like DeMeco Ryans. I think he has that personality that I like as a coach. He's not trying, and this is part of the thing with Campbell. I like him, but I still feel like sometimes a lot of his shit's for show. Like he's trying to make himself, I'm the reason the Lions are good. I
Yeah.
like D'Amico's more like, hey, I'm part of the machine, but it's the guys that are winning it for me.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
I still would love to see Minnesota finally. I've always been. I'm a fan of any team that hasn't made a Super Bowl or hasn't won a Super Bowl.
Minnesota, they've been to 4, haven't lost or haven't won. Detroit, never been. Cleveland Browns, never been. So yeah, I agree. I think you and I are on the same wavelength there. We have sympathy for some of these teams, which makes us like these teams, like a Detroit, like a Cleveland, like Buffalo. Even I really want them to actually win one, and I think they will win one in the Josh Allen era. I just don't know when. This might be the year they could do it.
Hey, doesn't it kind of feel like if they don't this year, though, then you start to go, maybe they won't?
I mean, Sean McDermott will be on the head coach for the Bills. He'll be on a time clock, so to speak.
So what does he have to do to keep his job? I think AFC title game.
At least, which is what they did in 2020.
As long as they don't get like embarrassed in the AFC title. Like if they end up going to Kansas City and we can all talk about Kansas City's vulnerable, blah, 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 and they get blown out like 24-3, or if they go to Baltimore. And I would like to see Baltimore win it because Lamar Jackson, all the connotations of him and black quarterback, and he wins MVPs, but he doesn't win when it matters. I would like to see that broken through.
You know what though? Like the AFC is it's a crapshoot because you have Baltimore, you have Kansas City, you have Buffalo, you have Houston, you have Pittsburgh. Those are 5 really good teams.
Yeah, but it really feels like it's Kansas City, Buffalo, Baltimore, big gap, and then everybody else.
And those 3 teams, right? One of those 3 teams won't make it to the AFC title game. And those are 3 elite teams.
And you know what? Pittsburgh got beat by Dallas at home.
I still can't. I really can't believe that. Justin Fields at quarterback.
He didn't play bad, though. He did not play bad.
He didn't play bad, which made me think that Dallas might have actually had a chance for this season. And
that's why I still contend Dallas is good. I still think Dallas beats the Giants. I still think they beat the Panthers. And there's at least one other game in there that we're not seeing. And I'm not even talking about the last game of the year with Washington, and that might not matter because Washington has sewed things up. There is somebody else that Dallas will beat there. That's just how the NFL world works.
So 6-11 or 7-10,
which will suck because I would rather them lose out. I mean, I want them to win at Thanksgiving again. I'm sorry, I just like if you win at Thanksgiving. I want them to win at Thanksgiving. Actually, if they can beat the Giants and Panthers and lose out, I'm perfectly fine. 5-12 should get you. They don't need a top 3 pick. I mean, yeah, that'd be great. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But honestly, for the issues that they need, I don't know if I want them to have a top 3 pick. Have a top 10 pick. First round guard, second round Ashton Jeffrey, third round Travis Hunter. Anyway,
I see what you're doing.
Anyway, that's gonna do it for this Monday night happy hour. Again, next week, intern Noe the Pro will be in studio. It'll be a full-on watching party at this time next week. Dallas will be up 21-3. Until next time, hang on, dude.
Yes. Oh, I don't have the shot ready. My straw is gone, so I'm going to do.
Okay, no, you're good. You don't have to do one.
No, I will do one.
Okay.
Hold on. Wait, whoa. End of the show. Cowboys suck. We love them. But we love them.
I love 1978 Cowboys. Here we go. Until next time, he's intern Noe the Pro. I'm Terry the host. This is OutDrank the Coverage.
Oh.